Welcome, everyone, and we'll be starting the Architectural Review Board meeting for Thursday, October 16th. Just as a reminder, we've got quite a good showing today. If you are here to speak for an item, please make sure to fill out a speaker slip so that we have your name and the item you wish to speak about in the record. That would be great. Brett, if we could do roll call, please.
Yes. Chair Blakemore.
Here.
Vice Chair O'Connor.
Here.
Board Member Moore.
Here.
Board Member Wolf.
Here.
Member Johnson.
Here.
Thank you. And this is the portion of the meeting where we call for public comment for items not listed on the agenda this evening. If you're here for any items not agendized this evening, now is the time to let us know. I don't see anybody here. Is there anyone on Zoom?
If there is any public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm gonna need to go to the other computer too.
Okay, thank you. Maybe while that is happening, we can just quickly disclose if there's any ex parte communications for any of the items on the agenda this evening.
Not I.
No? No?
No.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. And just a quick note on the agenda order tonight. I have to leave at 7:30 tonight, so we would like to ask if we could just switch items 2 and 3 in the order, since those are the heavier landscape items, if that is okay with the applicants.
I agree.
Everybody okay with that? Okay, thank you. Any public comment on Zoom? Are we good to find that out?
If you have any public comment to make, you can talk now.
For items not on the agenda?
If the item is not on the agenda. I've allowed them to speak, but they're not. Greg, you can speak now. All right, so that's it. Let's move on.
Okay, if that comes back, maybe we can jump back in. But so the first item on the agenda for this evening is the Franklin Creek Trail Improvement Project. Cindy, are you going to take us through this one tonight?
I am.
Right.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the ARB. This is for the Franklin Creek Trail Improvement Project that you saw a few months ago, and we are here for final tonight. This is the new multi-use trail that would be located along Franklin Creek between Carpinteria Avenue and 7th Street. It received preliminary review by the ARB on April 17th, 2025. The Planning Commission reviewed and approved the project on July 7th of this year. And then the plans have been updated to include both the ARB comments and the items that the Planning Commission required as part of the conditions of approval. And just as a reminder, currently there is an informal trail along here. This is basically the flood controls property that they use for maintenance access to the Franklin Creek corridor here, the channelized corridor. It's a joint effort to construct a trail through the grant from the Safe Routes to School program. And then here's looking from 7th Street at that end of the trail. So when the project was at the ARB in April, the comments were to consider the alternative surface materials, including granitecrete, confirm that the drainage plan is coordinated with the adjacent project at 4745 Carpinteria Avenue, which is the Clintner mixed-use and apartments project, to remove the fabric covering from the fencing, and to adjust the plant palette to include more native plants. And then the project went to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission agreed with all those comments, and then also added a condition to work with Santa Barbara County Flood Control to plant a native tree near Carpinteria Avenue that would replace one of the eucalyptus trees that's being removed to facilitate the project. And then also in the conditions of approval was to provide interpretive signage along the trail. So the plans have been updated. The proposal now is using permeable concrete instead of the AC concrete that was proposed previously. The drainage plan for the Clintner project that we call the mixed-use project, they looked at those plans and then confirmed that, yes, all the drainage will work between the two projects. The fence detail, they clarified that there will be no fabric or slats in the fence. It will just be plain chain link. And then in the landscaping plan, they switched out the island oaks for coast live oaks per Amy's suggestion. And then up here at Carpinteria Avenue, this is a new, per the Planning Commission's condition of approval, is a new 24-inch box sycamore here, which would go in line with the three sycamores that are being retained here, if you remember those from the prior presentation. And then here, the landscaping plant palette has been updated. I do not expect you to read this fine print. You can see the plans that are in your packets or in the staff report. But just pointing out that the trees are the western redbud, the California sycamore, and then coast live oaks, which are all three native trees. And then Amy, if you could confirm that the remaining plant palette are in fact all natives, that would be great. And then here's the interpretive signs. So the information on the signs isn't really up to the ARB's purview, but how the signs look in general, the styling of the mountings and whatnot is in your purview. So this is the flora and fauna interpretive sign, bilingual. And then here's the watershed interpretive sign, again bilingual. And then here's the sign details for the mounting. They haven't decided if it's going to be at the 30 or 45 degree, but they're this is just your standard, the national parks style sign. So if you've been to a national park, you know those signs hold up pretty well and last forever, it appears. And then the night lighting, because we always need your feedback on night lighting. I think at the last meeting you guys said it was okay, but we just need you to confirm that tonight because we're here for final. But the typical gooseneck, which is very common around town, these will be black along the trail instead of the Carpinteria green, but that's just to match everything else that's going to be along the trail. And the discussion items for tonight for the final approval are just the proposed multi-use trail design. And this is all, the inclusion of the comments and the Planning Commission comments in these items. The proposed multi-use trail design, the tree removals and proposed landscaping species, including the new native replacement tree at Carpinteria Avenue, the proposed interpretive signage, the proposed products for benches, fencing, lighting, and waste and recycling receptacles, which those are in your plan sets that you have, and they're the same as before, so I didn't add the new ones. And then the proposed exterior light fixture, including night sky friendly compliance. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you, Cindy. Are there any questions for staff?
None?
No? Is there an applicant here tonight to present this, or are we? Oh, come on up. Sorry, I didn't see you back there. Of the permeable concrete? Nice.
Microphone and state your name for the record.
I
The
think
green light.
My name is Amelia Snyder. I'm a landscape designer with RRM Design Group. Is your mic working?
Did the light come on?
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Amelia Snyder with RRM Design Group. I'm a landscape designer, and I assisted with the updated native plant palette. So.
Thank you and welcome. Do you want to add anything to Cindy's presentation, or do you want to just be here for questions?
I'll be here for questions. Any questions?
Okay. Does anyone have questions for the applicant?
I've got a comment, I guess it's sort of between staff.
Because we still have to.
Yeah. It is a question. Recognizing it wasn't in the conditions, but I think there was a comment in the last review, and it shows on page 7 and also in the large drawing, there's a power pole. There's a power pole at the entrance of the trail, right at Carpinteria Avenue.
This one here?
Do we have an opportunity to take that down, is the question, and maybe that comes up.
Yeah, we did talk about this last time, Board Member O'Connor, and the short answer is no, because it's one of the high voltage transmission lines, and those are very costly to underground.
Very good, thanks.
Any other questions from the board?
None.
Is there anyone here for public comment on this item? Is there anyone on Zoom?
If you have any public comment to make, please raise your hand. There is, okay.
We do have,
I have one public comment. I'm
Okay.
going to allow them to. Okay, Greg, you can talk. You're unmuted.
for item 2, and maybe tell him he needs to unmute himself.
You need to unmute yourself on your end. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay. So we don't,
He's for item 2.
if it is what?
For item 2.
If it is for item number 2, I just,
Yeah.
should I low?
Now 2. Okay, item 3 on the agenda, but gonna be item 2 because we switched.
Okay, so I'm gonna lower his hand, if that's okay. Yeah.
Maybe he should suggest maybe he sign out and sign back in.
Okay.
And maybe whatever glitch will get.
If you still want to make your public comment on which item, number 2, you said? Number?
No, Casitas, the land.
Maybe like sign out and then sign in again and then join the Zoom call again. Try that because we cannot hear you. Thank you.
We did have one point of clarification on the fencing. The visuals show black chain link. Is that the proposed? I don't quite see it on the plan, but it's probably there somewhere.
That is correct. This is Kayla Shabelsky on Zoom. I don't know if you all could hear me, but
That was amazing. You came from nowhere. I love that.
I'm the project manager, and I'm helping support the Public Works Department and Amelia. But correct, it is black chain link fence.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Shall we move on to comments? Board Member Johnson, would you care to go first?
No, I think it's a fine project. It's been a long time coming.
Okay. Board Member Wolf? I agree. Okay. Board Member Little?
I agree, but I'd like to see a 36-inch box opposed to a 24.
Can we request that, Cindy? A 36.
Did, I think, go back and forth, but do you have a preference for the 36, just because it's larger at install?
It's a larger, especially since we're taking out the larger
The big one.
eucalyptus there.
Yeah.
It'd have more of an impact, where 24, it's a nice size, but certainly 36 would be more of
Sure.
a quick statement for everybody.
That's true, yeah. They are super fast growing, luckily. So I think it's 4 to 5 feet in the first 10 years of its life. So we still could go in with the 36. I think it'll be like, somewhere between 15 feet tall versus 24 would be like 6 to 10 feet tall. So yeah, we can see, 36 would at install be more impactful.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Co-Chair O'Connor.
Great project. Move ahead.
And my comment is that I concur with Board Member Little that if we could give approval with the caveat that the one tree get upsized to a 36. All in favor? the motion is to approve, to give final approval to the project with the caveat that the one tree gets upsized to 36. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Oh, did you want a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm out of practice again. All right, thank you so much for coming in. Excited to see that happening. Okay, so the quick change on the agenda, the next item is going to be the Casitas Pass Improvement Project. No. This one. This one.
She left already.
You get the rice cake?
All right. Good evening, Chair Blakemore and board members. I'm Mindy Fogg, city planner, here to present on the 1069 Casitas Pass Improvement Project, which was item 3 on the agenda, but is going before item 2. And this project involves many exterior improvements to an existing apartment complex currently known as the Shepherd Place Apartments. It would include new landscaping, lighting, signage, repaving and restriping of the parking, new security gates at the 2 entryways, new amenities in the common areas, including a barbecue area, a dog park, and a passive gathering space. And no new buildings or structural modifications are proposed. This slide shows an aerial image of the complete site, and including the 12 buildings of the apartment complex, the swimming pool in the center, and there are the open space common areas here and over here. The existing setting is that it's a 7.36 acre property. It's fully developed and surrounded by Highway 101 to the northeast, single-family housing to the northwest, and the commercial uses with the Shepherd Place shops over here and the Albertsons Shopping Center. It's in sub-area 2, which is the downtown sub-area, and it's zoned PRD 20 and has medium-density residential land use. This slide shows some of the existing condition of the site. There's a leasing office, the main entry area here, garden and picnic area, and some of the carports that are around the complex. And this shows the existing layout with a highlighted area showing the areas that will be modified and improved. I'm going to attempt to fade out so you can see the proposed site plan come in over the existing layout. So the restriping will add 23 spaces for a total of 177 and include some EV charging. And these entryways will be repaved, and the parking area will be a little more efficient there for guests. And this site plan is a little easier to read on the screen, and it's showing the new amenities here with the passive outdoor theater area in the common space here, the proposed dog park, the proposed designated smoking area, the proposed active space, which would have games and a barbecue area, the new main entrance parking, which instead of a semicircle, it would be rectangular and have efficient parking for guests, and then 2 new security gates at the entryways there. Overall, the proposed landscaping would reduce water usage and use drought-tolerant native shrubs throughout the property, a lot less green lawn in the, I guess, interstitial areas. But the trees are the biggest issue, and really the main reason that this project came to be is there's 219 trees on site. A lot of them are causing damage to the infrastructure or the buildings, or they themselves are not healthy. And so they're proposing to remove 73. Some of them have already been removed out of urgent need, but they would retain 146 of the existing trees, and they would plant 14 new native trees, including coast live oak and bay laurel. This slide shows some of the trees that are still on site. They're very close to buildings, or they're closely spaced to each other, and then some are not in a healthy way. And I believe the applicant has their landscape architect here also for follow-up questions on that. These are the designs of the proposed entryway gate. This one being the main entrance, and this is a plan view overlooking, and then an elevation, and it would be a slide wood picket gate for vehicle entry on these ones, and then on the sides there would be a pedestrian gate. I think that's all I had on that one. This shows the existing lighting on site, which has raised also a lot of concerns among residents. I took these pictures and I had to close my eyes when taking these pictures, as these were very bright. They have a little too much light, but yet are not really lighting the pathways that you need. So, and some areas were still a little too dark. So the applicant is proposing to upgrade the lighting and to use night sky friendly downward shielded lamp posts, as well as pagoda type style bollards for the pathways, and then some string lighting for the new gathering spaces. This picture shows the existing building color, and the applicant is in the conceptual plans has four potential color schemes, and only one would be used ultimately. So your input is welcome on the coloring of the buildings for the repaint. And then for the vehicular pavement, it would be this herringbone type pavement in the entryway areas, and this hex pattern, losing my mouse, in the pedestrian areas, all of which would be permeable. So a few key policies pulled out for your consideration. One is that the need to make open space an integral part of the plan and usable by residents. Green areas are needed for the relaxation and recreation areas in these neighborhoods. Landscaping, of course, should include drought-tolerant native vegetation, especially with regard to trees. And the lighting must be sensitive to the character and minimize light pollution. And areas that we request your feedback on would include the removal of the trees and the overall landscaping, the expanded parking space areas, the gated ingress egress, the change in the exterior lighting, the addition of the passive and active gathering spaces, and the building color, one of the four potential color schemes, and just the overall design of the proposed project. So our recommendation is that your board grant preliminary approval with any comments on the design. And the applicant, Michael Holliday, is here And I believe, you also had your landscape person here? Okay. Great. And I'm available for questions of staff.
All right, thank you, Mindy. Do we have questions for staff? Anyone? Board Member Little?
I'm just curious, of the 24 trees that were removed, how many of them were protected trees?
Were they protected trees? You meaning,
Or oaks, or
or
are they all Brazilian pepper?
I will have to ask the landscape architect that question. I apologize. I didn't count the types of trees that were already removed. So the question was, how many of the trees that were already removed, of the 24 that were removed in an urgent manner, were protected, such as sycamore?
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry I'm late.
Okay.
Fine.
Courtney Miller, CJMLA, landscape architect. So regarding the previously removed trees, I have the full list here. There was one Platanus hispanica, according to the arborist, that was removed.
What's that tree?
It's London Plain.
It's a type of sycamore, usually platanus.
Yeah, it's not the native species,
Not
but it,
Californica, but
yeah,
Mexico.
close.
okay. Any other questions for staff? I have one. Are string lights considered night sky friendly?
We don't have a list of exactly what would be considered night sky friendly, but it is something that maybe we would want the applicant to give us the lumens and the temperature so that it doesn't cause pollution going upwards. So that's a great point, and we can look into that.
And maybe this is more of a question for the applicant, but is the intention there to provide those on a permanent basis, or are those just to be an option to go up temporarily for functions? Or what was the question? The string lights that are proposed for one of the outdoor recreation spaces, is that something that's intended to be a permanent installation, or is it something that's just, there's a note here that says, if I can read it correctly, this teeny tiny writing, opportunity for string lighting. So I'm not sure if that means that you're proposing it or proposing that you could have facility. Okay. And it would be a permanent, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, this one comes on. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Michael Holliday, I'm the principal architect with DMHA. We're the architects for the project, so Madam Chair and members of the board. So happy to answer any questions that you got, and then we've got a full presentation that we'll walk you through.
Why don't we start with that? We kind of jumped ahead because of the questions, but yeah, so if you could give us your presentation, that would be great.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to refer to the drawings since you guys all have a half-size set. We can kind of walk through these real quick. I'm going to cover all the architecture and planning and sort of design aspects, and then Courtney's going to summarize all the landscape, hardscape, fencing, and other things. Real excited about this project, kind of repositioning it, and wanted to actually thank this board for all the work on Linden Square, one of our other projects that's really become kind of the heart of Carpinteria, and you guys were part of that process. So Supervisor Roy Lee just basically made a comment to the board last week that said that's become the new heartbeat of Carpinteria. So kind of nice to see what you can do with a refreshed project. And that's kind of what we hope to do with this project, actually, is it's almost 50 years old. This complex had very little work done to it over the last 50 years. And a lot of it has to do with the landscape architecture, the trees that are so old and sort of overgrown. So anyway, we'll talk through that aspect of what has to be removed and trees coming to the end of their useful life, and then the life safety concerns. But first of all, on sheet G001, which is the cover sheet, just kind of gives you some context for the overall project, which staff covered. So I'll walk you through the specific aspects of these various sheets. The next sheet is jumping ahead to G011. Yeah, just so you can get a sense for the existing context out there. Again, they're almost 50-year-old buildings. Not much has been done in 50 years, and so At the time that we were submitting this several weeks ago, we had not yet nailed down a new name, which we're actually rebranding the whole campus. Instead of Shepherd's Place, it's going to be called Casitas Del Mar. So it's houses near the sea. And so the whole goal for this project is going to be to take on a much more sort of seaside, Carpinteria-esque aesthetic. Not changing the architecture of the buildings, but changing the colors and sort of going to be a whole new rebranding, new signage, which we will come back to this board with new signage. But working with the existing site plan and building is sort of repositioning the whole property. But that's the new name that the ownership has come up with. So this just gives you a sense for what we have out there. Next sheet would be G013. Yeah, skip over. This gives you a better sense for the overall context of some of the exterior site amenities and elements. And we can come back to this, but it shows existing light bollards, existing light posts, and really nothing's been done in years. I think some of the recent concerns on lighting, whereas it was too dark, and then they came in and put bulbs which were too bright in some of these fixtures and caused some of the glare. And I know that's, fortunately, this project's solving a lot of the issues that have been raised by the residents on lighting and, circulation. And you'll hear a little bit more about the landscaping and removing a lot of the turf and putting in water-conserving, drought-tolerant landscaping. But all of the signage will be redone, and we'll come back to you once we have those developed. But that's pretty exciting to kind of take this 50-year-old project and kind of reposition it with the new name. The next sheet is going to be G017. Yeah. This is just some inspirational imagery that we put together. We looked all around Southern California, actually, for some sort of projects that the ownership and we felt were appropriate for this project. So this gives you a sense for what is sort of the inspirational imagery. Again, a sort of a Carpinteria seaside theme is what we'd like to do without changing the architecture. So we're trying to work with what we have, and it's primarily a paint and refinish job, along with being a complete kind of landscape and hardscape upgrade. But this just shows you some of the imagery that we're looking towards for the new project. Next sheet would be AS101. The architectural site plan. Mindy did a good job kind of summarizing this, but this one sheet kind of shows the magnitude of what we're proposing to do. Basically leaving all of the building architecture existing and just sort of refinishing it and repainting it and repairing it. But also these red areas show you where we're enhancing it. So one of the things we've tried to do is maximize the parking layout. So a lot of the existing parking is oversized. So we're able to actually squeeze in, I think it was 23 cars overall. And we're also going to be creating this new sense of entry, both here at the main entry and here at the secondary entry. So that's a kind of a cool aspect of entry to the site. And then these interior areas, we're going to be developing little community gardens, if you will, that can be utilized by the residents there. And this just gives you a sense for how, sort of meticulously we've gone through and analyzed and surveyed what's there and how can we squeeze out some additional parking there. One comment I will make is the new state of California mandate that's come down that will allow us to add 8 new ADU units to this property. It hasn't been adopted by the city of Carp yet, so we're not proposing that, but we will be coming back once we know where we're putting them. We kind of got some good ideas, but they would be over parking likely in 2 areas, so we can just kind of barely fit that. It's a new thing that you guys will be, it's a brand new, state of California thing, but it's coming, and we are looking at it on this project, not quite sure how to fit and how many we can fit. But right now, this is the proposal before you. Let's look at AS102. This shows a lot more graphically, clearly more graphically, the what's been removed and what's being proposed. And Courtney will talk a little bit more about this when we get into the hardscape, but you can see it's a pretty extensive refresh. We're also updating the ADA accessibility for the whole site and just really enhancing it and improving it. I think aesthetically it's going to be a significant upgrade. Then we're going to jump to A801. we'll come back to this one, yeah. We're skipping around here. Yeah, I just wanted more for the flow. So here's what really the project's all about, is looking at the exterior colors and materials. We've got a couple options to show you, and the idea is sort of like a oceanside, beachfront, seaside Carpinteria theme. And so one was this sort of sage green color that we have identified on this plan, and you can kind of oh, yeah, you got to jump back. I'm sorry, yeah. That's why I'm jumping you around a little bit, Richard. Yeah. I just thought it was easier to talk about the buildings, and then we'll talk about the other ancillary facilities. So this is one of the sort of sage green colors that we like, and we're thinking we'd like to get the board's feedback on. And the next sheet is A802. This is a little bit lighter. We like this one as well. Again, the photo in the lower right shows sort of existing, and then this is what's being proposed. So kind of adding some softness and color. The colors, and the next sheet is A803. The colors of the building are going to be pretty much consistent with what they are. It's a beach sand kind of color. So, the idea of a darker, this has the darker kind of body color there. But the daisy white is the main body color, and then the accent colors are this sort of darker, richer color. And we're trying to, this is for the board's review and feedback as to what, we'd like actually some combination of these colors so we can develop little neighborhoods. But this just gives you a sense, primarily just repainting the whole project and recoloring the wood. And then the next sheet is 804, which is kind of a almost an ocean blue, kind of softer version. We didn't want to get too trendy with the colors, so everything's kind of muted down a little bit. And the landscape is really going to bring this alive. All of these photos are shown with existing lawn, which is going to be replaced, but it gives you a sense for that. And then after 804 would be AS103. Did we do that one? That's going to be going backwards. Oh, okay, way back. After survey. Yeah. We were going to organize this in a PDF. We did, actually. But here's and these are sort of the only ancillary structures out there on the site. So there's an existing mailbox kiosk and an existing map structure kiosk. So we wanted to have a little fun with some of these buildings and make some kind of architectural statements. Again, this is kind of looking at Linden Square and trying to figure out what can you do with some old buildings that are, things that are there, and trying to be a little bit creative with some of the structure. But the idea is unifying the whole experience there, from when you drive into the entry gates to the hardscape to the common area, kiosks and mailbox structures. So those are some imagery that we just wanted to show for sort of inspiration, and then we've got the designs there. So A103, and then I'll let Courtney sort of jump in here with LT 1.0, which is right behind this one.
Thank you, Michael.
this
So,
one?
yeah, it's just before that
Which
page,
page is it?
Mr. Johnson.
Do you,
We're L2.1, which is our conceptual
what you wanna
landscape
go?
plan.
this was LT 1.0. Is what
I'm
you want to go to this one? Okay.
The other one's our title sheet, so. So yeah, as Michael mentioned, and Mindy, the overall goal is a refresh. We wanted to take some of the open space areas around the property and implement some new programming for the property. And so I can kind of point things out here. So on this side, which is the west, currently most of the property is lawn, and there are some foundation shrubs and some agapanthus probably, and then the trees. And so that's really it on the landscape in terms of the understory. So what we'd like to do on the west side, we have a big open lawn area. There are also some drainage issues around the property, which we're hoping to address. In that space, overall, we want to reduce the amount of lawn, but still provide some nice open areas for people to walk their dogs or, have passive use of the open areas. So there we have some new permeable hardscape in the middle, and we've added a new bit of walkway kind of diagonally across where we felt there was a desire path there. And then along the north side of the property, there's a space between two of the buildings there that we felt was a good place for a pet area, kind of a smallish dog park. So fenced in, it'll have mulch, maybe some mounds and boulders, and just a place to go and sit and let your dogs run free. And then along the east side of the property, there's another large area that currently has lawn, and there is a rose garden and a number of Brazilian pepper trees. In that area, we're proposing a small community space with barbecues and tables, and then just bench seating, another bit of open lawn, and another bit of permeable hardscape. So, maybe we'll have some games or something a little bit more active over there. The turquoise green color is bioretention, but that's something that we're still digging into and trying to understand where the problem areas are. But we do intend to, pick up that drainage as much as we can within the landscape, rather than using drains, which do clog. Otherwise, as Michael mentioned, we have our new kind of arrival moment at the front of the property. We do have some details of the vehicular gates, which I can show you, and we'll be proposing permeable paving there as well. We do have samples of the pavers if the board would like to see those. We had this idea to do kind of a wave pattern, and I think it would be more like a gradient rather than a specific line, if that makes sense, there. And then we have a few new trees, but overall, as you know, I think the one of the other goals with this project is to address some real safety issues around the property. So overall, the goal is to kind of reduce the amount of trees that are problematic and kind of help the maintenance and life safety issues around the property. So let's see. Just to touch on the landscaping too, I didn't, this is a concept plan. We don't have specific plant symbols yet for the understory plants. We do have some areas where we have hedges indicated where we need additional screening between the buildings. But generally, I do want to maintain kind of that open park-like setting that we have on this property, but removing most of the lawn and replacing with a mix of native low-growing species mostly. So ground covers that spread out nicely, and a mixture of maybe some limandras because we do have a lot of shade and some other ornamental grasses. And I can answer more questions or provide more detail if you have any questions about that. Let's see. So then following page is our irrigation water analysis, just to give you a sense of what's happening around the property. It'll all be low flow drip systems, with the exception of the yellow areas, which will be lawn. And we're planning on implementing a new system with all of the required, bells and whistles, rain sensor, and all of that, all the good stuff. Following page are details for the vehicular gates. So if you take a look at the images there, that's kind of the intent. We're hoping to do board-formed concrete columns and then just a vertical wood slat for the gate itself. And we did have to do some gymnastics with the layout because of the existing conditions. So at the main entry, I think it's relatively straightforward. However, we can't do swing gates because of the turns, so we have a double stacker situation here.
Sliding gate.
So it slides. It's 2 panels that then
That's-
both slide.
Be open during the day and then just closed at night. And the primary reason for the gates are the homeless that are coming in at night in the dark areas and sleeping in the bushes and stuff. So it'll be open all day, but in the nighttime, after dark hours, be closed, and then everybody that lives there would have a key fob to be able to get in.
Yeah, so vehicular gates across the drivable surfaces and then person gates on either side. And then we also have a second set of gates on the other entry, which is at the southwest side of the property, and that one is staggered, just again due to the existing layout of the curbs and road. So, okay, let's flip back, and I do want to touch on the trees. I think this is good. Okay, so L 1.0 is our overall tree disposition plan. So we did work with an arborist who did a full report. It's extensive. It was included in your staff report. Unfortunately, some trees were removed before we were involved with this project. So part of what we're requesting is approval of those removed trees, a retroactive approval. In addition to that, there are new trees that we'd like to propose also be removed. The totals are, we have 219 existing trees. We're proposing that 49 should be removed. There were 24 previously removed. And we will be protecting 146 trees, so keeping them in place, and proposing 14 new trees. So the trees that are being proposed for removal or already were, in general, are posing severe life safety hazards and risks for people, cars, anything in the environment of the trees. So what we did is we went through, we had the arborist go through and assess each of the trees. And then we went through and made selections based on that criteria. So the trees are each rated A through F. We went through and chose the trees that were rated D and F in an effort to be less aggressive with our removals. And so that's what we're proposing today is just the removal of those that are rated extremely poorly. And then in addition to that, some of them are dead or dying. In terms of the life safety issues, let's see, the removals happened because of a huge storm in January 23. Maybe you remember all of the flooding. They had a huge pepper tree that landed on 2 cars. So that was obviously a huge issue. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but that's sort of how this all started. Many of the trees have just not been properly taken care of, so the maintenance has been subpar. On top of that, 2 of the species are really prone to dense canopies and just haven't been well maintained. So they have excessive weight in their crowns. The root systems are very shallow because of how they've been irrigated, and so it's kind of the perfect storm. They're blowing over in these big winds. And then on top of that, many of them were planted just incredibly close together, too close to buildings, just classic things that we see often with older properties. And in my opinion, the property as a whole is just over-treed. And, you know, we don't want to remove the trees if we don't have to, but in this instance, I think we're making choices like removing an invasive species because it's competing with a native tree, or choosing to remove 1 out of, 6 carrotwood trees because they're all competing for the same space. So that's kind of the rationale behind the tree removals. So I'm sure there will be questions, and we're happy to answer them. But I think that concludes our presentation.
Yeah, that concludes our presentation, so we're available for questions.
All right. At this point, let's questions for the applicant. Board Member Wolf?
Need just a little bit of background that I'm vague on, and maybe everybody else in the room knows these answers. Is there a new owner to the whole property? Is there a new management group? How long has that been happening? And can you talk a tiny bit about that for a minute? And when you guys just came in, and what happened? I mean,
Yes.
How did this all happen?
Well, I can, there's a lot of things. Yes, there's new ownership. I believe Tobes Group has owned it for decades, and some new owners have purchased it. I think it was a couple years ago. Don't know the exact date. We've been on board for about 6 months, kind of trying to pick up the pieces for, as Courtney said, when I think some of the trees were removed for life safety issues. Really, it was in the middle of a storm, and that's why we were brought in to try to address, some of that. And I said, well, this is basically a landscape issue. And then they said, well, we want to refresh and enhance the buildings. Nothing had been done for decades. And so that's really why we're before you today, to kind of wrap up whatever has to be documented. The arborist report, if you haven't been through it, it's the most extensive one I've ever seen. But they went through and rated every tree, what was there, what it's graded, A through F, and then what the opinion of the arborist is of what needs to be there. So that was sort of the landscape story, to try to make up for the trees that were removed, the new trees that are being proposed, and then creating.
After the Tobes Group left?
After, yes. All of this happened after the storm, like Courtney was mentioned, and I think it was December 23. So that was as the new owners have taken over, and their goal is to really enhance and improve the project. I mean, nothing's been done there for decades, so it's sort of repositioning it for the next 20 or 30 years.
And there is a homeowners association of some sort?
I believe so.
Okay.
There's no homeowners?
Okay.
So, no, because it's apartments,
Okay.
rental apartments.
All rentals?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So it's Christine Lujan.
Yeah, and she's here if there's any questions for her.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? Board Member Little?
Yeah, I've noticed that you're doing a great job of wanting to refresh the color and the painting and all that. But I did notice that one of the comments was that they're still all single pane windows, so they're kind of old and dated. Any chance of updating to a dual pane windows?
There's definitely a chance. I don't know if you guys have priced that recently. I mean, you've doubled or tripled the budget. Replacing windows is a very expensive and extensive thing. We'd love to see it happen. Rents would go up. I mean, people have to pay for that type of stuff. I mean, it's a good request, and I think it's a request my wife has of me of our single pane windows. And I got the budget, and I can tell you by how much expensive it is. But anyway, it's a legitimate request, and maybe that's a phase 2 project. I mean, right now we're kind of addressing the site plan, the immediate life safety issues, the landscaping. As Courtney mentioned, the trees are overhanging the building, so there's mold and rot and other things like that are really an issue. One of the other things with the site plan is addressing all the site drainage, because with the rains that we've had, there's big ponding of water, drains that haven't been cleaned out in decades. So this proposal is to get the site kind of grounded, create these new amenities, and get the trees away from the buildings, and then repaint the buildings, get rid of all the dry rot, refinish it. If there's a future project to come in and go after the windows, that's a great request, and probably would be something that could be suggested. But I do know that they've been trying to keep down the cost, because the more you spend on this, the rents go up to all the people that are there. So you got to be sensitive to that. And I think that's been. They're long-term owners. This isn't a flip, a buy and flip and sell. This is a long-term purchase, and that's why they're new name, new rebranding, new focus, and address sort of the most critical
So
issues.
I think that's a no on the windows.
think
Any
so.
other questions from the board?
Well, I had one other.
Okay.
In reference to the gates, I follow the police reports quite often, and I've never seen any reports as far as any problems in this particular area. So is it just the homeless come in and then they leave, so there's no reports made?
Yeah, typically, and again, the ownership can speak to this, it's pretty much a consistent problem, and it's usually after hours. So they have to have security that goes in, and they move in after dark and are sleeping in the areas around these entries right here. And the only way to do it is to have after hours, of course, when it gets dark, that these gates are closed. So they found them all over the place. So it's been a recurring problem, and not near as bad as Santa Barbara where we live, but it's an issue for them, and they're really concerned about the young women here, the people that are safety of the residents. So,
Okay, thank you.
Co-Chair O'Connor, did you have any questions?
No questions, I'll save for comments.
Okay, I have a couple questions. I drove through here before the meeting tonight and noticed that there was quite a bit of parking that happens adjacent the interior loop. Is that proposed to continue with this new plan, or is that allowed? Is that legal right now, or is that just people finding a spot because the other spots are taken?
I mean, parking off the site?
They're parking on the interior loop.
Oh.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that a fire
Well, the
issue?
part of the reason is to try to adding 23 parking spaces to this.
I understand that. Are you still going to have parking on the interior loop? Or is that not, is this a fire lane, I guess is my question, and it is not currently marked as that, as I could tell. There were certain spots that were red, but then there was park. I was trying to find a place to park. And it looked as if people were actively, constantly parking there, and there were spots that were red. So I was just curious about that. And I know you said you were adding, I believe, 23 parking spaces?
Yes.
And you're doing that by shrinking the ones that are there right now, is that correct?
Some of the spaces are oversized, and a lot of them are sort of inefficiently laid out.
What is the size that you're taking them to, out of curiosity?
The standard code size, I believe it's 9 feet wide.
Nine wide, okay.
Whatever the,
9 by 17 or whatever it is.
9
Okay.
by 18.
18, 9 by 18.
okay.
Yeah.
And then just another question for Courtney on areas. Are you envisioning, and I know this is still kind of concept plan, are you envisioning providing some kind, I feel like the residents there have probably gotten used to having quite a bit of lawn, and I appreciate the dog area, because that, if you're going to take away most of the lawn, that might be needed, but I think it's going to be a big emotional change. Are you considering having any other areas of like a lawn alternative that people could walk or, kind of have to use for dogs that aren't in just the one visit? If I live way over here and the dog spot's here, I'd maybe want to be able to go out. Just a question if that's part of your consideration
Thinking.
at this point.
Thank you for that. We do have lawn proposed on both the east and the west
Okay.
still as part of those revised kind of open space areas. It's smaller than what the existing condition is.
Well, it's everywhere.
Yeah, and right now it's literally everywhere. So much of it doesn't meet code technically. It's in narrow spaces.
Right.
In terms of irrigating it, it's a challenge, et cetera. But we hadn't planned on including it otherwise.
Okay.
But I think that's a really good point. So.
Okay. Now, if there are any other questions from the board for the applicant? No? I don't have any speaker slips from the public for this item, but if there's anybody here that, it was
It was
he
us,
filled it out
yeah.
for them. Is there anyone from the public that wants to comment on this item? I don't see anyone. Anyone on Zoom?
I have 2 hands raised. I'm gonna
Okay.
let Greg to talk. Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Greg? No, he's able to talk, right?
Hi, Greg. It's Mindy. Can you speak into your mic on your computer?
LT1 or 2.1.
You're unmuted, but we don't hear you.
Yeah.
Greg, we'll come right back to you. Are you on Lauren now?
No. Okay. Shall I?
Yeah. Lauren, you're unmuted. You can go ahead.
Thanks a lot, everyone. I was just furiously trying to jot down notes as everything's coming here. I'm a Northwest resident's neighbor. There's it's probably the longest property line shared with the residences there off of Vallecito. And I wanted to first thank the city for getting these notices out in the snail mail. I wouldn't have known about this unless I received the old-fashioned paper. Speaking to the old-fashioned nature, I was looking at the report in the background here, and it noted that this complex went up in the mid-'70s when I was a toddler. And it reminded me about a story that I heard that when this was first going up, the fence line that I'm wanting to comment and have a question about was taken down without any notice to the neighborhood, and there was chaos that ensued. Most notably, everybody's dogs running out in the downtown area. So, just a little background in my perspective coming here, and there was a mention of not a lot being done in the past 50 years, and I'm glad to see that there's some things being done and regarding safety, security, and some things that obviously have been mortgaged to deferred maintenance and whatnot. But really, the issue of the fence there, it sounds like this might be a phase 2 item. Possibly a budgetary issue, but I did see a lot of things there that I was wondering, okay, what about the fence that's 50 years old? We were talking about refinishing and repair, a refresh. I don't know if the seaside aesthetic is going to play into the fence there that exists for the neighbors, but it is in some pretty bad way and disrepair. And then I also want to thank the board member for bringing up the lighting. I hadn't even considered the maybe unintended consequences of some of the lighting affecting some of the neighbors in the area. So, my main question is, it was the fence line that I'm referring to in the northwest line, that long line of neighboring lines. Was that discussed with new ownership? Is there anything that new ownership has talked about regarding that fence? And thanks again for bringing up the lighting. I'll be anxious to hear how we would know or test what the effects of any new lighting would have on us before it's installed, paid for, approved, and all that. I don't know how that would go, so maybe that's a second question.
I can probably jump in on that just to address it. We do require a photometric plan, which they've provided, that shows any sort of lighting spillover and the level of lighting that would be that happens at the property line. And I believe that there's city codes and requirements for how much is allowed to actually happen there, which is pretty little.
Yes, Chair Blakemore, I can confirm that. I think the only question mark is still with the string lights, which I don't think we're really, those are interior. But the rest of the lighting upgrade will be a huge improvement. There'll be a lot less spillover.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom, or are we? We did all receive Greg's letter.
Greg, I'm gonna allow you to talk again and just try to turn on your mic. Okay, now you can talk. Your mic is mute, Greg. It's not on.
Greg, I'm so sorry. We cannot hear you. Your mic is not activated. But the board members did all receive your email yesterday. And so your very cohesive outline was provided, and we are prepared to speak to it if anyone would like to comment.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to the board for comment. This is here for preliminary review. So who would like to start first? Board Member Johnson, would you like to go first? You can say no.
Well, I can only make comment that I'm glad somebody's doing something there, and I think it's going to be an improvement. The pictures of the buildings show no trees in front of them, but the site plan seems to have several buildings with several trees in front of them, so I would think the photographs here could use some trees in front of those particular buildings, but I'm sure you guys will address that towards the end, if not before. And I was wondering about the diagonal property line there also of the property line fence, whether there's one there or not, and whether it's going to be, and there should be one in the end, so I'll just leave it at that. And I think it's a good idea, and I think your colors studies are in the right direction, so I don't have any problem with that. So I'll pass it on to everybody else who's smarter than I am.
Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Little.
I agree that the site certainly needs to be thinned out. Just driving through it, there's massive amount of trees and overlapping, and the root systems are really bad. So I can agree to a lot of the tree removals. On AS 103, you have a cute little structure there, Inspiration. It's a cute idea, but my grandkids would love to just jump off that with no railing. So if that's just a inspiration, I presume you would put a railing on that, even though it may not be large, far enough off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So just a comment on that. And I would agree with Amy's comments about when I drove through a couple of times, it was very difficult to get by because of parking on the curbside as well. So if that could be addressed, I'm surprised the fire department hasn't addressed it before. So, but overall, I like the idea of the refreshing with the colors, and I think most of the residents would appreciate the upgrading.
Thank you. Board Member Wolf?
I'm not exactly sure. I would guess that there's somebody from Shepherd Place here in the audience. The fact that they didn't fill out a slip, does that mean nobody can speak, or is anybody here? Can they raise their hand? Okay, so I would think that somebody is here for a reason, to listen. I think you're interested in finding out some possible recommendations on color. You've thrown out 4 choices, and I get the impression that we are helping you with that, or is that not true?
Well, this is the proposal, so we're hopeful that there's preliminary approval. If there's comments on a particular color that you don't like or you think's inappropriate, we're happy to address that. We're trying to kind of create this seaside village kind of Casitas Del Mar theme, and so that was why we've kind of thrown a lot at you here. But if you've got some specific thoughts or comments, or you like one better than the other, we'd love to hear it. Otherwise, this is what we'd like to go with.
They're all much more fresh than what's there right today. So wherever you go, it's a better direction.
It's up. Thank you.
Co-Chair O'Connor?
Yeah, I think it's a great step in the right direction for sure. I do have a number of comments that I think, since we're in preliminary, you can address them as time goes by.
Sure.
About the trees, I think we've talked quite a bit about the trees. The only thing I would add is, because we're coming back, is you might put ribbons on the trees that you're taking out. It's kind of like a story pole idea, so that the residents and we can all see what's coming out.
Okay.
Because when you drive around, it's kind of hard to tell which tree's which. So marking the trees would be good. Regarding the gate coming in off of Casitas Pass, the scale of it in the drawings, L 0.0 and AS 102 and L 4.1, show that pedestrian walk and what looks like the slide going to that direction is going to be right in front of an apartment building, like really close.
Let's look at the site plan.
So something to think about. And it doesn't appear to be a walk for the pedestrian gate either. And it looks like it's just a rendering, that drawing doesn't show the relative
Right here.
space
Yeah,
of
probably
it.
the site plan's better to look at.
And then you go to the site plan, and it looks like there's a stub wall that the gate goes into, so I can't quite tell how you get around. So you just might want to clarify that.
Right there.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think- I think there's some grade changes
Yeah,
there.
they're
aren't there?
they're all away from the building, but it's kind of it was a tough situation because we couldn't do swing gates
It looks
either
tricky,
direction.
and the scale of the fence drawing looks like it's quite a bit longer than the space that you have next to those little stub walls.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good comment. It
Yeah.
fits, but yeah.
Yeah.
The pocketing gates are a little unique and gonna be, they need to work
It's a
well.
tricky
And the
little
idea
spot
is it's
there.
gonna be open all day long when people, majority of people, but after when nighttime hours come, they'd be closing them.
Yep, very good. Other comment about the trees, sorry, back to the trees, is around the dog park. It looks like all the trees around that dog area are gone, so there's no shade. You might want to think about, particularly if you get rid of the grass and you've got some sort of permeable, fake stuff, there's going to be things that don't like sun getting dropped in that area, so, think about that. The other comment about, we've had a good discussion about fencing, but didn't talk about the fence along the freeway. And that looks like an original fence also, and it's pretty low. And certainly the freeway's changed in 50 years, pretty dramatically. So I would think it might be something, either in this phase or the next, to think about that, what's appropriate in this setting for a border along the freeway. Also in that area on L 2.1, in the, I guess what would be the southeast corner, I think there's a sort of impromptu gathering area in that corner that probably, I'm guessing, acts as a smoking section. And you're proposing the smoking section on the very opposite far side. So you might just think about two areas there, because there's one already being,
Southeast.
yeah, the southeast corner. Yeah, lower right-hand corner on L.
From me.
As you're looking at L 2.1 in the lower right-hand corner.
This was the only one is there another spot?
Yeah,
No, this is
in the current
proposed.
condition,
Oh,
right there,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of tables and umbrellas and stuff. It looks like a little impromptu spot. So you might as well accommodate what's being used.
The historical
already.
use.
Yeah, it looks like a casual, thing, but,
so you're suggesting adding another,
or just incorporate that in your thinking. You're
Okay.
gonna put another spot like it over further away, and there's already
Which is
a little
gonna-
area that's being,
okay.
I'll just note real quick for the board that our code enforcement and our long-range planning went out there because of the new multifamily smoking prohibition. There's very strict constraints about where you can put a designated smoking area. It has to be so many feet from various things, and they actually came up only with the one that they're showing on the plan as the only designated allowed spot under the new law.
very good. Well, that answers that.
Yeah.
And then regarding the lighting, we talked a good bit about the lighting. I agree with all that. The fixture that's shown, and I was flipping pages and making a bunch of noise. The fixture that's shown, it looks very contemporary. I'm not sure it goes along with everything that you described in your vision.
Which sheet is it?
Yeah, I flipped too many times and gave up. But there's a very sort of,
Oh, yeah, here we go.
no, there was one that was very square. Oh, you know what? I'm on a different project. Sorry.
Yeah.
That might have just been a reference in.
We tried not to do that. If you look at
Many
it, it's
projects today.
it's sort of
Okay.
a nautical seaside version with this, the bollard shape and this one being the gooseneck, so.
Lighting looks great. And the paint, my preference to your ask would be 804. I think it's a little brighter. The Whisper and the Dark Lagoon, I think are the names of the colors. So you wanted a preference, that'd be mine.
804.
It's the blue.
It's the blue and
We
the,
can call it blue.
and the white or white. Whisper is very, ubiquitous white. It
804.
pretty much goes with everything.
It was the only blue one.
Not in there? Is it, maybe, yeah, A80, there you go.
Is there more?
No, otherwise, great project.
Okay.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
going.
thank you.
Right,
Yeah, we
I-
tried not to go too bright. I mean, it's sort of seaside ocean. I mean, if you look at its beach sand on the building, ocean here, driftwood colors. So we're trying to sort of pick up a palette that feels good without being too noisy or too, from what, we didn't want to make too much of a transition from what's there, so. Thank you.
I also have my comments, but I'm going to reserve them for after Cynthia comes up and talks because she filled out a speaker slip. Yes, you do, but it's not as bad as you think. Trust me. You get used to it. I hadn't really planned to push. Hello. Can you hear me? I hadn't really planned on speaking. I think I'm probably one of two people that even are around the complex. I've been hearing about this plan for about 3 years, so my curiosity was quite high, and I was delighted to find that there was actually a meeting coming up. So my general impression of it is good. Regarding the lighting, there's 2 areas we need lighting. One is by our apartment entrances, and one is in the walkway that goes around the sidewalks. Because I take, pretty much everybody that has a dog takes the dog out after dark. And I really like to see what's around. And the lighting that's there now, that amber lighting is just, I mean, it's hardly, you can hardly see anything. Another matter is those fences, the one fence that's wooden, that's on the back end of a kind of opposite the entryway, that thing is about ready to fall over. There's a bunch of bamboo that's growing on the other side of it that probably is pushing on it. There's big old trees that are growing right next to the fence that are probably interfering with it. I don't know what the plan is for taking those out at all, but that could be addressed, I suppose. The fence that's next to, abuts the freeway, it's about, I can see over it. It's about, it's probably about 5 feet from the ground. That's it. We get a lot of freeway noise, and it was not replaced during the rebuild of the freeway. I don't know why it wasn't. It probably could have been part of the budget, but it never got done. I think there's a lot of wasted space along the edges of the complex that we could probably put some more interesting things in that would be good places for plantings or that sort of thing. That's where people are making little hidey holes and storing things, and there's a lot of crap that's been put there by tenants because they ran out of space for all the hoardage in their apartment, so they put it out there. Anyway, the smoking area, it would be good to have 2 sections of the smoking area because there's kind of like 2 smoking tribes, and they don't like each other. So, and as far as putting ribbons around the trees, it's probably going to start a mass riot. So we kind of got to be a little cool about that, I think. It's just the inside information. I mean, I know I've lived there 10 years, and I've been kind of studying these people for a long time because they're a pretty interesting crew that lives there. I don't know. You think of anything else, Bruce? Yeah, I'm actually.
One of my favorite things, and one of the things that I worked on with another tenant, is the rose garden. And I wonder, I don't see it delineated there or even spread around anywhere. What's going on with that? Is that going to go away? I mean, I hope not.
Rose Garden.
It's gotten a lot of love in the past few years, and everybody absolutely adores it. So maybe we could move it.
I think there might be some potential for that, so we'll put that in the
The
thinking
dogs
cap.
don't care if they have shade. They're not out there that long.
Okay.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you, Cynthia. You're one of my favorite things. All right. So my comments, to finish up, and then we can get a motion going. I understand where you're at with the trees. It makes sense. Nobody wants to get hurt. Nobody wants issues with things falling on them. But it does seem like we've got a pretty giant net reduction. We're losing 59. We're going from a 219 to 145. Maybe there's space to bring that number up just a bit. Not asking for the world, but maybe we can fit in a few more trees. There are some places that I think it would be useful. There's a south-facing on Building 1059. There's a south-facing area that's not going to have any trees. It might cool that building down to have, one or two there. I don't know. I think there's maybe some opportunities to get in just a couple more. I am looking around town, and it does seem like we've been taking trees out more than we've been putting them in. And I just have been noticing they just took the one out at IHOP. There's nothing else going back in there. There's a bunch of the... Anyway, it'd be nice to not have such a big net reduction. I understand, that there's a lot of trees there, and I get that, but maybe there's an opportunity to have a couple well-placed ones. I personally find string lights a little bit offensive in these types of applications where everyone has to look at them during the day. They're not attractive, and they're going to be central. So I'm not super in favor of that, but if I may be the only one. It would be really helpful to have more. You've got the photometric study I see here, but I don't really see actually where all the fixtures. Those are really hard to read in terms of fixture locations. It shows all the light, levels. If we could possibly come back with a plan that shows, specifically where.
Yeah, they're actually on here. They're difficult to see.
It's really hard to read these on the photometric studies. So I don't know if Courtney, you could pull those into your plan so we can see how they relate to the sidewalks a little bit better and the planting. Yeah, yeah, and the specification for the fixtures I think are fine, but just to have a little bit more information on that. And just as the board in general, I know, Courtney, I think you and I are on the same page that this is still kind of a concept plan, but you guys are here for preliminary. Your plant palette looks great to me. I think we're in a position that, we could come back, we could do preliminary and come back for final. Does somebody want to
So
make a
moved.
motion? Okay.
Yeah. Question is, what do we want to add in? Is it just the notes?
I think just our comments.
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't like the brown. I think the other colors are better, but not a fan of the brown.
I'll also note that in final, we're expecting to see the proposed signage.
Okay, great. All in favor of that?
We need a second.
Oh, need a second? I'll second.
Second.
Richard and I, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Do you, Brett, you collect these, right? Okay. Next.
Yeah, I think that's what that's probably a good idea.
I've got an 88-year-old tree in my yard.
Yeah, so they know what's going on.
I don't want anybody touching it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
think we'll look at the arborist report and see if there's some trees.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Next up is the Cypress Apartments renovation. Thanks for being patient, guys. I appreciate it. Okay.
She's wanted to look at something on the screen before I switch it over to the other presentation.
This is new.
It's code though. It's code, not ARB. That's
Okay.
you can just say. Exactly. I think that's actually what you're saying.
Please come and join us.
Your head is in my way. Sorry. Yeah, or you could go sit over there. Be a council member for a little while. Okay. All right. Good evening. Okay, now we're going back to item number 2, which is the Cypress Apartments renovations at 4956 5th Street. And I think the most notable thing about this property is the very iconic tall cypress tree that's right out front. This is a view looking at the property from Linden. And this one's here for preliminary review. It's the first time you saw this one. So the project includes interior and exterior alterations to an existing 7-unit apartment building. 2 3-bedroom units would be converted into 4 1-bedroom units, so it would be a +2 for a total of 9. 364 square feet of the rear portico would be enclosed for a new bike room and a new just general storage room. New roof, new windows and doors, new plaster and paint, new stairway and balcony railings, and new landscaping and new hardscape are proposed. And here's an aerial photo. The site is right here with the yellow star. Just for reference, this is Linden over here. Here we have 5th Street. The city market here on the corner. ASOS with the blue umbrellas. Here's the warehouses. Island Brew would be over here. And then here's the parking lot 3, and then the train tracks and the Amtrak station. So just north of the tracks. And then here's a street view of the apartment building, the existing, which is constructed back in 1977, and the building has not had a lot of love since then, we'll say. So the renovations are going to be improvement for aesthetics as well as living conditions for tenants. So here's the site plan, the existing structure here. This area here on the first floor is that portico I was speaking of, which is informally used for parking right now. And then there's a little laundry room and like a utility closet right here. There's 4 spaces in a carport here. This is the trash enclosure. And then additional uncovered parking here. And then plan, there's the existing 3-bedroom. Here's an existing 2-bedroom. This right now is a 3-bedroom, which is proposed to be split into 2 1-bedroom units. And in order to get the 9 units, they're invoking the state density bonus law. So also as part of using the state density bonus law, they have to provide 24% as affordable for low income. So the one of the 3 bedrooms right here, the front one on the ground floor, and then this 1 bedroom back here in the corner are the 2 that are proposed to be deed restricted for low income tenants. And then back here, we're moving into the portico. Here's the new bike room and then the new general storage room. And then you can see the parking space layout. And the laundry room and utility closet will remain here. And then on the second floor, an existing 3-bedroom will remain. The existing 2-bedroom will remain. Here's another 3-bedroom that is going to be converted into 2 1-bedrooms. And then this one over the portico is an existing 3-bedroom that would remain. So at the end of the day, they'll have 3 3-bedrooms, 2 2-bedrooms, and 4 1-bedrooms. Yeah. And then on the exterior, the updates, basically it's the, Spanish Mediterranean version of the, very popular black and white color scheme right now, except it's going to have the red tile roof and cream for the body instead of the pure white, and on plaster, not board and batten. So here's the cream for the body color. They've got the midnight oil, which is like almost black for the trim. New railings, more streamlined contemporary style. New windows, black. New black front doors with little windows at the top. And then the new exterior light, which I'll show you again in a more detailed version. It's like a little canopy here, and then the bulbs up in here, and then the light shines down. And here's the template for that. It shows it a little more detail with all the specifications, which is also included on the electrical plan page of your plans. And here, so for actual fenestration changes, there's 2 new doors for the 2 new 1-bedrooms, which aren't even really visible from one of the side elevations. But that's the only real change to the structure. Everything's going to stay in the same place. It's just going to get updated. So here's the view from the front, the street view from 5th Street. The west elevation, again, remaining the same other than the updates and the new railings, new windows and doors. The east elevation, new little railings on these balconies, and for this little block right here. And then the 6th place elevation, again, just new doors and windows, and then, paint and new plaster. A big part of the project is the new landscaping plan, because the site right now does not really have much of a really elaborate plan. So here's the existing cypress tree, and then there's the Canary Island palm in the front yard. They're proposing toyons for additional trees, and then an Evie silk tassel bush trees also, which are very interesting looking natives. I learned from, Google, and from Amy, I learned they're native tonight. And then a lot of, salvias and agave, and then ground cover throughout, filling in the rest of the area with, vines planted on the fencing along the sides, right here on the north the east and west sides. Oh, and just to note in your plans, on the elevations in your plans, they did, the elevations are labeled a little differently than our normal protocol. So in the presentation, I did our north, south, east, west, as north being the mountains, south being the ocean, east being Ventura direction, and west being the marsh. But they're labeled a little differently in their plans. And then here's the plant list. I don't expect you to be able to read this small font, but just to show you the Monterey cypress and the Canary Island palm will remain. The new trees that will be planted would be the Davis gold toyon and the Eve silk tassel bush, and then the vines on the fence, and then the different perennials, shade plants, grasses, and ground covers for the remainder of the parcel. And the front fencing, when I wrote the staff report, I wasn't sure what they were going to propose for the front fencing. We just were really hoping the chain link would go away, which they concurred. It is going away. So here's the existing chain link in the front yard. You can see it kind of wraps around by the sidewalk. They are proposing a new 3.5-foot tall stucco wall, kind of meandering here. And then when you guys sat down, this is the updated plan that came in after the staff report went out, showing the location of that new wall. Everybody see that? Just a meandering little stucco wall, and then there'd be, some little pedestrian gates here on each side where the pathways are. And here's the detail for that new proposed site wall. And then the key objectives and policies that are pertaining to this project are land use element policy to encourage the remodeling and revitalization of neighborhoods in accordance with the principles established in the community design element, which is your design element. And then we have community design policy 5C that say low walls, low fences, and hedges should be encouraged along the frontages to define the edge of the private yard area where appropriate. And then in follow-up to that, in our design guideline area 2, which is where this project's located in the downtown area, we have a policy that ensures that new intensified land uses within the downtown remain consistent with the city's small town beach image. And then an implementation policy number 18 to follow up that policy for hedges, walls, and picket fences between 30 inches and 42 inches in height are encouraged on the frontage lines. Side yard walls should step down to no more than 42 inches in height within the front yard setback. So those are kind of the key players for tonight. And then the summaries of issues for discussion are the proposed exterior colors and materials, the landscaping and hardscape plan, including the proposed front wall and plant list, and the proposed exterior light fixture for night sky friendly compliance. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff?
No.
I have a question. Is there any landscape lighting, or just it's going to be lighting on the residence itself? Sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you. No other
Yeah, there's none proposed at this time in the plan set.
Okay, perfect. Want to introduce yourself more formally this time? We're welcome.
There we go. Hi, Daryl Becker and Kirsten Becker with Becker Studios. And Elisa Reed is here from Carpinteria Studios on Zoom.
Great. Do you want to add anything to Cindy's presentation?
The only thing I'll clarify is that this property was purchased 2.5 years ago, and it was born out of a need to upgrade the windows and roof and add heating and air to the building. And so we started with the building and the building systems, and once we decided we were doing that, we realized we would be tearing into the stucco to replace the windows, and we wanted to replace the heavy sanded stucco finish with a smooth trowel finish. And so we just carried that appropriate motif throughout. There also there were a number of windows at the back of the property that were replaced prior to ownership, and they're already in this charcoal color, and so that's why we chose the window color that we have. So we're just carrying that motif through. The rest of it becomes just upgrading the aesthetic of the property and appropriate landscape.
Without trying to offend the iconic 1977 architecture and counting on amazing landscape to soften some of what's there.
Nice. All right. Is there any questions for the applicant?
I guess I have a question.
Sure.
I drove around the beautiful 70s iconic architecture this morning, and I recognized that the parking is tight. It looks to me that we now have a new protocol of 0.05 cars per unit or per.
That's more of a question for me, I think.
Okay.
So, our good friend state density bonus law, because the property is providing 20 or at least 20% affordables, which they're providing 24, and they're within half a mile of a mass transit station, which our little Amtrak counts for that for this bonus density because it's right across the street. They are allowed to provide half of a parking space per unit. So with the 10 spots that are proposed, technically they are overparked, but they would end up with one per unit and then one extra spot.
Because one per unit is great if you have a one-bedroom, but if you are a three-bedroom unit, that's tough.
It is not up to us.
Yes,
Not a
that is
judge.
our good friend state bonus density law,
Okay.
or density bonus law.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay, is anyone here for public comment on this item? Anyone on Zoom?
I do have one hand raised. I'm gonna allow to talk the guest.
Is it Greg?
No, it's Elisa.
Oh, hi, Elisa.
Oh, hi. I'm just here for answering any landscape questions. So, yes,
Thank you so much.
no questions on my end.
I don't have any questions on your landscape plan. I think it looks beautiful.
Oh,
Should we
wonderful.
bring it back to the board for comments then? Who wants to start this time? Don't all go at once.
Okay, well, I think it's a fine job, and it's an improvement, particularly with the landscaping. You're doing the smooth trowel on the whole building?
Correct.
Okay, I understood that right. And you're not replacing the roof, so, right?
We're reusing the roof tile in the mansard, but the roof itself gets re-waterproofed.
On the,
Yes,
okay.
the inner.
And the handrails and all that are staying the same? Just painting them?
No, they're being changed out and upgraded to steel.
Okay. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board Member Little.
Well, I like the upgrading, especially going with the smooth stucco. Amy probably won't like this comment, but whenever I go by that property, I just love the Monterey cypress, and the palm tree just looks so far just out of place. And I wouldn't mind seeing it disappear. It just is out of balance with the property itself.
Too
'Cause the
bad. Too bad you're wrong.
So it's not going to happen, but anyhow, it's just always kind of sticks out to me that that palm tree just doesn't belong here because of the cypress tree. It's just so beautiful. The stucco wall up front, I presume that's going to be smooth stucco as well to go along.
Correct.
Okay. And maybe Amy can answer this or somebody. I noticed you have a morning glory vine. The morning glories that I see around town are just going crazy. So is this Coast Morning Glory a more controllable morning glory?
I think I'll let Elisa handle that question.
Elisa?
Unmuting myself.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. The morning glory we're proposing is a native one, and it's a much delicate, less aggressive than the flower is a little pale pink. It's not the big purple, blue one you see around town.
Right. Which I end up pulling out from my fence from the neighbor's yard all the time. So just
Yeah,
wanted
it's
to
an
make sure
invasive
it's
one,
not the
though.
same one there. So, okay,
No, it's not.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Comments, Board Member Wolf?
No,
Comments? Okay. Comments, Co-Chair O'Connor?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful what you're doing. And it hasn't been said, but I think it's even more wonderful that you're not changing the footprint. So many projects come in and take up all that parking and, just pack it full. So I think it's great you're leaving it as it is. One comment on the floor plans. The units that convert from the, 3 bedrooms to 2 1-bedrooms, the the one in pink that I'm on A 1.3. And I think this is true on both the first floor and the second floor. The existing condition, that space that's now the kitchen is a bedroom, and it doesn't have a window. But now in the new condition, it's the kitchen and living space without a window. And I would just see if you might think about popping a window into that room.
Fair enough.
Something to think about.
Thank you.
Certainly not a condition, but, and then I think to our ask about colors and so on, the distant, or the classic gray and the midnight oil, it's actually sort of brownish tints to both of those.
A little bit.
And there's a distant gray in the Benjamin Moore that's a little brighter and not quite as dark. And I think along with the terracotta, it might be more of the natural Spanish sort of feel. So just one comment on the color. And the light fixture looks a little contemporary, but, you know, that was my comment on the last thing, and I was thinking. So I'll just leave it to you to think about. Does it fit? Because there's craftsman feels to the door. There's Spanish feel to the roof, you know, and then you got this contemporary light. So just think about it. Otherwise, I guess fantastic. Windows, really good, you know. Nice work.
I also think it's a great project, and I think it's going to be a big improvement over what's there. And I, too, concur with Co-Chair O'Connor's statement. So many of the projects we see just want to max everything out, and it's just really refreshing to see somebody that's not trying to just build out to every corner of the property. That's very nice. I think the materials are great. I think the landscape is very nice. I really like the wall in the front. I think that's going to soften it at the entry, and I think it's a good project. It's here for preliminary. I'll make a motion to give preliminary approval for the project. Anyone want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you guys for coming in. Thanks for being patient. Appreciate it.
Did Lisa vote?
It was,
Okay.
yeah. And I think based on Board Member Johnson's leaving, we're going to take
That was
just
same.
like
The
a
other
couple
motion
minute
was,
break.
Amy and
If
Johnson
anybody
too,
needs
for-
to go to the restroom, and then we'll be right back.
Very good. So we're going to move on to item number 4, the Verizon Wireless Facility Project. Chair Blakemore had to leave for a family commitment, so I'll be managing the process tonight. Do the best I can. So with that, go through the staff report.
Great. Hello, everyone. I know you're here for this item. If you wanted to speak on the item, I wanted to be sure that you fill out a speaker slip, and we'll get it to the chair so they can call people up as they want to speak. But thank you for coming. My name is Brett McNulty. I'm the project planner for this item. Can you hear me through this? Yeah? Okay, good. This is a preliminary review of a request for approval of a conditional use permit and coastal development permit for project 2336 CUP CDP to allow for installation of 3 new wireless communications antenna array installations and 1 support equipment enclosure that would be located on rooftops at the existing single-story commercial retail building located at 912 Linden Avenue in the Carpinteria downtown core. The business addresses on the building are 944, 954, 962, and 970 Linden Avenue. As seen in the aerial, 912 Linden Avenue is located on the east side of Linden Avenue. Let me find my arrow over here so you can orient, because the labels for the streets are a little bit, and probably you all know where you're at here. It's currently, this site right here is the currently vacant restaurant, which you saw, if you were here, you saw last week, or 2 weeks ago, is going to soon be the Ojai Rotu Restaurant, located at 5003 Carpinteria Avenue to the north. Mixed commercial uses along Linden Avenue to the west. The city parking lot number 2 back here. Across Cactus Lane to the east, and the Tory Gate shops right here to the south. This is a 0.3 acre site, currently improved with retail, commercial, and restaurant uses, with frontages to Linden Avenue. The rear of the building on the east side includes the rear patio entrance to Sushi Terry Restaurant, 2 attached 8.4 foot tall attached accessory structures, a storage locker, gates, a fence, an unenclosed dumpster area all along the back here, and then a loading and parking areas along Cactus Lane. The installation would occur in 3 locations. The first is at the north corner of the building, next to the clock tower, would site 2 antenna enclosures, 1 on each side. The next would be at the south corner of the building, located just above the, let's see if I can, well, we'll just call it right there. The support equipment enclosure will be located adjacent to the accessory building rooftop, which is located right near that installation. In addition, the installation would include 2 secure roof access ladders, wiring harnesses running to and from the wireless components along the roof, connections to existing structures and electrical panels, an easement within the Cactus Lane right-of-way for an underground connection to existing electrical utilities, and parking for an emergency generator in the loading area right next to the equipment installation. The project description is for a preliminary review for the installation of 3 directional antennas with 2 adjacent to the existing Carpinteria clock tower, and 1 at the south end of the building. As I just pointed out, the rooftop equipment mounted within the new enclosure. Let me skip on to this. Each of the antenna installations would include 2 wireless radios, 2 wireless panel antennas, another different kind of wireless radio, and one integrated radio antenna per sector. There would be 6 at each installation for 18 total antennas. The parking for the emergency generator. There's no proposed changes to existing setbacks, landscapings, or plantings. The purpose of the project, these wireless services maps were supplied with the applicant's coverage and justification report. The site will improve in building coverage and capacity in downtown Carpinteria and provide offload to the surrounding sites to help improve the overall network performance in the area. And I'm gonna attempt to zoom in. Whoop. See if I can get to the zoom. Okay, nope. Oh, here we go. I can't see them. That's not it. Well, bear with me. I won't do right anymore. Okay. Now I can see it, actually. There we go. We go back. And, okay, it's right. Okay, I won't belabor the point. Back to the maps. This is the existing area of coverage here, and as you can see, there's red and yellow quite a bit out in this location, and then here the green is showing improved coverage around the pin that's stuck in the map right here, and that is the intent is to improve downtown area coverage in an area with restaurants, retail businesses, which draw a large amount of traffic from locals and tourists. They've had coverage issues and they need to improve the in-building coverage along with the capacity to improve customer experience within this area, including to businesses and residents.
Where is Carpinteria on that map? We were trying to zoom in.
Where is Carpinteria?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I still can't. So this is the entire area right here. Right here is where Linden Avenue runs down right here. Let's see if I can inadvertently grab that. Oh, I can't see it. Darn my eyes. Oh, here we go. There we go. So here's the 101 curve, Linden Avenue coming down from 101 right here to the project site. Jason, here's Carpinteria Avenue. Okay. Okay. In addition to the need for the need for the project, what Verizon did is prepared a study of the adjacent available sites where they could put an alternative either on an existing pole or at a new site. And they took into account factors such as coverage, owner willingness to influence the site location choices. And that's how they determined that this would be the most optimal location for them to improve signal coverage in this area. So at this point, I would like to introduce Celeste McGinnis from the applicant for the project. I'd like to invite her up to the table. I'm going to finish my presentation, but I wanted to make you aware that she's in the room. And the reason I'm going to introduce her now is because she spent quite a bit of time with us working on some of the issues that we identified that I'm going to go into right now. And what I'm going to talk about is not the original application that came in, but I'm going to talk about a draft revised plan that they sent in as a result of the work that we've been doing to try to address the comments that we had on the original plans. So That said, I wanted you to be sure that we're focusing on attachment B in your plan set, and that the other attachment A plan set we're not recommending at this time. Okay, so I guess three. So the application was originally submitted on March 7th of 2025. Staff requested additional items and revised technical studies addressing radio frequency emissions, structural and historic analysis of the clock tower were provided by the applicant. Staff looked at the plan set in attachment A and as I discussed, we identified revisions. Working together, we've come to this place. And then we're focused on the preliminary revisions. This is the revised or proposed roof plan. And yes, it's a revised proposed roof plan. In yellow, you'll see the locations of the antenna installations. And now that I can see this, I can zoom in on that a bit. And to orient you here, this corner is where the tower, the Carpinteria clock tower is located. Arrows pointing north right there. Linden Avenue's right down this way, along the frontage there. And then we come to the rear of the building and the south corner. I should draw your attention to the directional arrows for these antennas. This one, I believe, is a beta. Is identified as the beta installation. Part of the comments that we provided to the applicant were about the location of this antenna on the corner of the building, and we talked about options, and one of those options was to move it back away from the corner so it wouldn't tower over the adjacent Tory shops, and so that was done. This is the equipment enclosure here, and these right here, these circles are the ladders. These equipment boxes provide battery backup and radio communications to the antennas themselves, and that is the extent of my technical knowledge. There are wires running along this path through here, and from the installations through here and down into these boxes. There is wires running to the existing electrical panels on this side, and then there's also a hookup for this parking area would be right here along Cactus Lane, where a truck with an emergency generator could pull up during a power outage and supply communications power to this facility. Okay, let's exit out of that. Let's see, move on. There we go. Okay. The existing clock tower is the primary architectural feature of the building, and its design is complemented and integrated into the building by two existing parapets located at the 17 and a half and 19 foot above grade. And these parapets are here and here. There's the existing 10-foot high roof line that is running right here. This line is kind of an awning more. It runs around the entire front end, this side of the building to here. The clock face wall is flanked by offset vertical wing panels, really shown here pretty well, that step down from here to here and here, and feature slight variations in detailing that lend to the tower's appearance of height. Currently, the Sushi Terry sign is affixed to the lower face just above the roof line and the restaurant's north corner entrance. The 1,300 168 square foot parcel is zoned Central Business District and the Visitor Serving Commercial, the V Overlay District. The site is also located within the Visitor Serving Commercial Land Use Designation and General Plan Community Design Subareas 2, Downtown and Old Town, and 2A, Downtown Core District. The following set of photos provide view perspectives from sides of the building from a pedestrian perspective. I'm going to talk about the clock tower a little bit first. The photo on the left zooms in on the clock tower, showing the clock with the Carpinteria letters and lighting tube. Presumably that's a neon tube. On the right is a near direct view of the corner entry looking south from the sidewalk. So the tower incorporates the angular Art Deco styles that started to become popular in the 1920s and are depicted in this graphic that's at a scale appropriate to the downtown, as opposed to the big giant towers you see in Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York City that kind of lasted all the way through the World War II. And stayed as icons in our downtowns. As part of the historical evaluation prepared by the applicant under the National Register of Historic Places criterion, the property appears to meet the criteria for historical significance. These photos are from the sidewalk in front of the building looking north. The photos show the architectural details of the building, the fenestration, the tower, the stacking effects I think are exemplified here pretty well, and how those lend to the height of the building from the front, especially. These two photos were taken from the west side of Linden Avenue mid-block. I think these photos provide a pretty good snapshot of the architectural style of the entire side of the building, especially this one here, capturing the windows above the awning roof line there, and the big windows looking out onto the street. And it definitely shows that the architecture has been incorporated into the entire, not only the tower, but all the way down the street, as the lines will move from the tower all the way down. This was actually a new experience of the building for me. I never noticed that. So the next perspective is from the corner of Linden and 9th Street, intersection looking toward the tower. On the right, the photo is blown up to focus on the proposed location of two of the three antennas in that location. The next photo, we're going to move around to the back. This is a Google Maps capture shown for the south corner roof where the third wireless antenna enclosure would be located, and the accessory structure and roof where the electrical equipment enclosure would be located. And this photo kind of shows in two directions, towards the accessory building and where the antenna is going to be mounted, looking towards the south and east. And this photo shows the roll-up door and then the back patio entry exit into the, excuse me, the Sushi Terry restaurant, and all the landscaping in the rear that's in the pots. So this is a straight-on photo of the location of the antenna and the equipment. Be going in these two locations. I'm going to draw your attention to these windows right here, then this is the perspective from the Tory Shops Paseo to the south, and the antenna will be right here, just back from this corner, and the equipment structure will be here, as shown in the arrows. Excuse me. Let me take a drink here. This slide shows a little bit more of a zoom in on the antenna structures as proposed. I'm going to zoom a little bit more just so you can see the detail a little bit better. And this shows the direction with the arrow. This one's the same one I talked about earlier with the beta. This one, I believe, is the alpha, and this one is the gamma on this side. And you can see how the antennas are directed in the directions of the arrows to get the coverage that are being proposed. One thing that I want to draw your attention to on this site plan is the relationship of the installation to the existing clock tower. We were noticing that the clock tower depictions weren't exactly to, they didn't quite match up to the installation and the way it's shown. And we're requesting that it become more clear how the enclosures will fit on the site plan itself so that they could become construction level. And we're concerned that the way that the parapets are shown as in relation to the mounting would need to be looked at and addressed, and it would remain a comment that we have for the applicant. Okay, let's zoom out, please. Thank you. Okay, these are elevations of the site looking south past the restaurant from Carpinteria Avenue. In this, I'm going to zoom again because this is a new feature for me. I think it's very helpful because these are hard to see. We have the existing clock tower depicted here, shown with its 3 towers. And then we are showing the proposed installation, the antenna installations. And this installation, the applicant responded to our comments on the previous one that was extending this second tower further out, so it made it a flatter top. And they responded by bringing that antenna down, and it sits on top of the existing tower, and they made it shorter so that it provides another step there, and it still sits on top of the existing tower. And then the next one here, we talked about some of the, they'd extended this out with the stripes, and we asked that they articulate it and make more, give it more visual interest, and so they did that. The reason it doesn't completely show here, and we'll see in some photo simulations here shortly how it's envisioned for them to look, is because they have it less than opaque, so you can see how the antennas are mounted in there. Okay, let me out. Thank you. Okay, this is the perspective from Linden Avenue, once again, of the same installation. And it's a mirror to the installation on the other side. This time we have the prior location of the antenna installation shown here, and that since has been moved, and that'll show up in another slide. And so here we are. This one I'm going to zoom in on because there's a bit of detail here to look at. This one shows the antenna at the south end setback, as we discussed before. It also shows the proposed antenna enclosure. One of the issues that staff was discussing with the applicant was that the windows here were blocked, and they've been working on trying to figure that issue out. These are lockable ladders that are there for emergency or maintenance access. And then there's that hookup line right there. And then this shows the back of the clock tower with its installations. And then from the Torrey Shops side, once again, we are looking at the south installations. And again, the side of the clock tower with, I think this is a good representation right here of the change that they're proposing. And now we're going to look at the photo simulations. This is an existing view of the tower from Linden Avenue. And this shows how the project will look as proposed. That's the intentional look of the project there. You can see that they've added the steps in here. They've added some crown work in here and then with the stripes here, they've added more of a flat appearance to the side. I'm going to just call them flying wing type of panels that seem like distant buildings. Okay. This is a more straight-on shot of the tower. This is taken from a perspective that's right at the door into Sushi Terry and this truck driver's lap. And so it shows how the angle of the antennas will change kind of the view angle on the tower. This is the previous perspective of the back side of the tower from Linden Avenue, and now there's the simulation shows the installation of the enclosure at the back of the tower. Okay, I'm done with that, and on we go. And this is views of the same. This is zoomed out views from 9th and Linden. At the back, we see, I'm going to zoom in again, the proposed installation here. Let's see if I can get it. Almost, not quite. The previous installation was because federal law requires that wireless antenna installations need to try to match the existing building, so the wireless enclosure matched this structure right here. But when we asked them to change that, this is the designs that they came up with, kind of to giving a nod to the tower at the front of the building, and adding some visual interest to the crowns. Okay, in regards to plan and policy consistency, in the coastal land use plan, general plan, land use and community design elements, objective LU3 talks about preserving preserving the small beach town character of the built environment of Carpinteria, encouraging compatible revitalization and avoiding sprawl development at the city's edge. Policy LU3I, ensure the provision of adequate services and resources, including parking, public transit, and recreational facilities to serve proposed development. Objective CD10, areas with attractive frontage design should be maintained. New development should be carefully planned with frontage areas which maintain and enhance the quality of Carpinteria streetscape. Objective CD11C, all public spaces and facilities should reflect quality design. The Carpinteria Municipal Code, Section 1456030, wireless facilities subject to a conditional use permit. In Chapter 1456, wireless communication regulates design criteria and plan consistency, protects small town character, and minimize visual impacts. Section 1456050 provides location criteria directing wireless installations into commercial or industrial zones. And Section 1556070, development criteria B and D, facilities shall architecturally blend with structure, avoid appearance of a wireless facility, conceal entire installation, and use materials consistent with existing structures. So Staff is asking the ARB to comment on a proposed antenna and equipment installations for compliance with development criteria B and D. That would be appreciated. The ARB may consider offering the applicant guidance on alternative designs which may help the antennas blend with the existing building and clock tower architecture while still allowing the facility to meet the required wireless coverage objectives. The board's comments on the proposed project's consistency with the above community design objectives and policies and small beach town character would be much appreciated. The summary of the design review issues. The potential visual effects of proposed antenna panel extensions that would affect the integrated vertical and horizontal scaling of the existing clock tower. Compatibility of proposed facility locations within the context of the existing architectural elements and windows at the south corner, the adequacy of concealment screening, the design and finishes of the proposed screening elements, overall project compliance with the wireless communications development standards and applicable public views, preservations, design policies, and maintenance of the existing tower and building facade were not proposed. So we're asking that you speak to this matter. Now we will come back to the recommendations. Celeste has a presentation, and we're wondering if you'd like to make that presentation right now, Celeste, to kind of elaborate on what was already talked about.
To staff, I think we need to have questions for staff first.
Okay. That's fine. Yes.
So if we could just hold for a second. So questions for staff.
So, Brett, I had asked for a map of where the other cell towers were in that area, and you said you had done that. I'm just wondering, where is that map?
Now, this map, and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that this map provided locations of cell towers in this area.
I thought you said that was the proposed possible
That
spots.
was part of their location study, is they identified existing cell towers also in this area, and that
So
all came
those
in.
are existing cell towers also. Is that what you're saying?
They are, yes, they're included in this location analysis.
Because there's not allowed to be another cell tower within a quarter of a mile? And that's why I asked. And a lot of times cell towers are there and they are not full. They have availability for other tenants.
And
that's why I was gonna ask.
that's the study that they presented addressed that by trying to, according to their study, they sought out locations on other towers that are existing, and they were not available or they didn't meet their needs, and so they were able to identify this site as an appropriate location. So they ideally cannot locate within a quarter mile, but if they present a study demonstrating that they haven't been able to find an alternative location, then they can identify a location as long as there's a willing property owner to allow it on the site.
Can I suggest that we have the applicant expand on that when?
Yeah, and then
when we get to.
I'm also wondering who is the owner of the building and therefore who is collecting the rent from Verizon? For me, it is.
I don't have the
For
property
maintenance.
owner information.
Yeah, I think that's probably out of the ARB purview, but if we can get the answer later, that'd be great.
Okay, so Francis Sarkis, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Little, any questions for staff?
Brett, from Cactus Lane, I didn't see a view of the clock tower. Right, from Cactus Lane. You had the picture of of it more towards the new buildings, but not of the clock tower. Right. So I was looking to see the backside of the clock tower.
It's hard to see from these photos. I did see it when I went to, after I'd gone to the site, I saw it from Google Maps, but it was in the parking lot, and I couldn't get it to show up on a shot. I don't have access to my photos from here. It is visible, the backside of the clock tower is visible from the parking lot. You can kind of see it in this photograph. Third page.
Imagine.
One more. Photos in.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good for now.
Thank you. Board Member Johnson.
Yeah, what's the, okay, the main pylon in the middle where the clock tower is, that height stays the same and that structure stays the same and is unaffected?
Yes, actually, and the two flying wings off to the side, and then the one step down.
The lowest step down would be the new stuff.
Yeah, let me bring it up real fast. So all this will remain right here, and then the installations will kind of fit in around it.
Yes, I understand. What is that material for the new stuff?
Vinyl. To my understanding, it's vinyl.
Vinyl, like fencing, screening?
Screening.
You can't see through it?
It's opaque, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no, no further questions for me, so we'll
Okay.
turn it over to the applicant. Turn on your mic there.
Would you
Introduce
like me to bring
yourself.
up your presentation?
I think is it on?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Celeste McGinnis, and I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. I've been working with Brett over, I'm going to say, the last 4 to 6 weeks intensely on revamping this design that we had originally proposed. We definitely take all the comments seriously and want to work with everyone to provide the design that would work for everyone. The slideshow that's on there shows the original and then what we had proposed, and then the updates that we did for the proposal, just showing the different things that we want to work with everyone on providing this design. We know it's historic, we know the sensitivity to the community, and we definitely want to work with everyone. Thank you. So, like I was mentioning, this is just a summary of some of the proposed design updates, and it was just prepared for this meeting. The project is for the clock tower equipment installation. The goal is to improve the aesthetics and meet with the city requirements and minimize the visual impact that can happen with adding a new cell tower to a rooftop. There were some tower elevation design changes, antenna positioning adjustments, roof equipment and enclosure updates, and visual simulations included. We revised drawings to show the step-down variations between the clock face, the wings, the crown, and Brett had touched on that one as well. We adjusted the FRP material design, and that was also part of the crown. And then on the back side where the equipment was, we had changed it from a chain link to this different FRP material to match the clock tower. we reduced the flattening by lowering the stealth panel on the clock tower, where before, I'm going to say it was the third panel down, it was pretty close to the second panel's height, and so we adjusted that and we changed the antenna rad center for that. And then that's where the last item says that we lowered the one antenna down a foot. So this is an example. The top left, and I know it's really small from here, the top left is the existing, the bottom left is the original proposal that we had submitted, and the bottom right is the new proposal. So you can just kind of see a little comparison from this one to that one as far as taking the changes that were recommended and working with that on changing that clock tower. From the backside, we also added a different FRP to help kind of blend in with the clock tower, just to make it not as stand out, trying to incorporate all that. And then for the equipment enclosure in the back and the antenna enclosure, you can see the previous antenna enclosure and you can see the previous equipment enclosure, and then the updated changes right here from what we had done. Parking coordination, there was a spot that we needed in the back for the emergency generator, and it was just to lay out that that's actually no parking. It's only going to be used if there is an emergency in the area, and it's just something that is required, earthquakes, floods, different things like that. So that's the overview of my the slideshow that I have. So just kind of showing the differences, and I'm definitely here to take back any comments and things that we can do to work together.
Very good, thank you. So we'll go reverse order. Questions for the applicant? Board Member Johnson.
This material that you're using, the vinyl, is on a frame like you show on the plans here. Looks like a 2x4 frame or something like that, and it's a stretched fabric, and it's painted to match whatever color you want to match. It's the same material that's typically used on these cell towers, because I've seen it downtown Santa Barbara and a lot of places where they've added a parapet around a building to hide
Right.
cell towers.
The exact material, I don't have listed what it is, but I do believe my designer is online, so I don't know if I can ask her if she can.
Okay, fine. I think it's the same. If it's the same material, it's very effective.
Okay, yeah, it should be. She knows very specifically.
Very good. Board Member Johnson. No, excuse me. Wolf. Board Member Wolf.
I am concerned about this vinyl. So it's not really a material that's going to match the clock tower. It's not. It's different. Is that correct?
I'm not sure what the material is existing.
Well, it's probably
Stucco.
a stucco or an old cement, something from the 30s. What is it? It's something. It's not vinyl.
I'm sure it's a smooth troweled
Plaster.
stucco.
Stucco. It's not vinyl. So what you're going to be doing is adding something on the wings that is trying to match, but it is not really a match. Is that correct?
We can match it as close as possible, and I can get you the exact answer for that.
Can you match the material that the clock tower is made of? Can you actually rebuild that using that exact material?
Not knowing exactly
It's a
what it is.
masonry product.
A masonry, I mean, if it's something that's available, it's something that Verizon can do, their construction. I'm not part of that, so I can't.
Okay. Well, I think, I have a feeling people are concerned about the
Okay, I will.
the integrity of the
Absolutely.
historic tower.
Absolutely.
Through the chair. The design team, I believe, are on Zoom for you if you wanted to ask them questions too.
Are they available to answer?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. I'm Farah Ali from A&E Design. So for the question about the materials of the tower, we have to make it RF transparent materials with fiberglass structure that it doesn't affect the antenna frequency because we can't put block in front of the antennas. and this materials is gonna be textured and painted, and it should be looks exactly like the clock tower. We can provide samples for the color and the texture. It should like we had several other projects. We might, if you like, send photos that's been built. That is gonna be exactly the same, but it's not blocked because we can't put blocks in front of the internet.
Thank you. Any further thought?
Thank you.
Board Member Little.
Several months ago, and maybe more than several months ago, we had another project that we looked at more down towards east in the Procore area. And they selected a location that was away from downtown and was out of sight. I'm just wondering, did you consider other locations like on Eugenia Place? There's a lot of commercial buildings that are there, which it's only probably less than a quarter mile away from this location.
The area that Verizon definitely wanted to increase the capacity and their coverage was this downtown area. So I did not see a search over in that location. It was very, very specific in this area that they were trying to improve.
Because the Eugenia Place is like less than a quarter mile away from this location. And it certainly would not disturb the historic look of that particular corner.
Okay. I can take that back and see if that was something that was ever researched. I have not researched that area, so the area was very specific to on Linden Avenue that Verizon was looking for.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a couple of comments and then a question. I think we're now standing on the very awkward moment of this review, the location of the tower itself, or of the array, and this board doesn't have responsibility for locating that array, and I think that's got to be understood in the review. Now, having said that, the report does allude to a study that was done and a bunch of criteria that led to the location. So I think we have to accept that that's a significant issue for the review of it, and it will be part of the Planning Commission review for issuance of the conditional use permit. So, right. So I think that just have to acknowledge that in the state of this review, and expect that there'll still be comments about it regardless. Having said that, I do have one technical question. Is there an acoustic signature associated with the array in its normal condition? Not the emergency generator, but in the normal operation of this array of antennas. Is there an acoustic signature in addition to the RF emissions? Noise.
There should not be, no.
Okay.
I can have a noise study, but no, there's not the.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
the
excluding
generator's
I'm
going to be the only
excluding
one
yeah,
that has
no,
the
not
noise.
in normal operation.
Yeah, you're not
you
going to
know.
hear the antennas
Is there a
at all.
buzz, kind of thing?
You're not going to hear it, even when you're, not that you're going to be up close, but up close, you're not going to hear any buzz.
Okay. And last, can you comment any further about your study that sort of identified the historical significance and what the detail is about that? Because that was your study, right?
It was done for Verizon, yes.
Right.
I'm not the historical study person that did that
Right.
report. It was just taking into account all the things that makes it historical, and we had to come to findings that what we did for the plan kept it historical, and that's where some of the things came back that we had to redesign because it took away from the historical impact of how it looked.
So it's fair to say that's an opinion as opposed to a state designation. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
Chair O'Connor, I can speak to that issue a little bit more. The criteria that's set forth is by the federal agencies, and the the criterion that they came to found that it qualifies as historical significant. It's historically significant, and that would be under NEPA, and then for our purposes, CEQA. In this case, also it also qualifies as a locally significant designation. That means here locally in town, the city can designate that as a significant location.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I think there's more to come on that discussion, but probably outside of the purview of ARB. Okay. So we're through with questions. So we'll bring it back to the public to speak. I've got 4 speaker slips. I'll just remind everybody, typically it's sort of informal, but 3 minutes if you can. We don't have a timer, but be respectful of everybody's time. So we'll start with Gary Binkow. I didn't butcher that, sorry.
Good evening. How are y'all? My name is Gary Binko. I'm a newish resident of Carpinteria. My partner and I relocated from Los Angeles about 3.5 years ago to rehabilitate a farm up in the hills of Carpinteria. I also am a business owner and a store owner in town, which is actually kitty corner to the clock tower, a business called Longevity Lab. We are focused on health and wellness and helping prolong longevity. And it's also one of the reasons why we decided to move from Los Angeles to this beautiful town of Carpinteria. We were vacationing here, had been in California for 30 years and never been to Carpinteria. We drove through one day on our way to Santa Barbara and stopped in and had a very impactful, emotional experience to this beautiful town. By the way, I've always wanted to say this, but I'm down with ARB. You know me. So I do appreciate what you guys do to protect the integrity of the town, and it's such an old world charm, and you guys have referenced a lot of that today. I've been here 3 hours listening to you opine about marigolds and cypress trees and cactuses and palm trees, and I'm kind of shocked that we're still having a conversation about doing something that would cause kind of long-term harm to the sort of core iconic buildings of your town. Like, I can't believe that you're having this conversation with folks from Verizon about installing a array in the middle of your core. It's like almost like sacrilegious. I feel like I'm stuck in a movie. I don't know if you remember Hill Valley, and now I'm trying to save the clock tower. But here we are talking about this at, I don't know who's still awake online, but it's already 8:15, and now we're just talking about why on earth we would ever consider having this put in your beautiful core. And so obviously I'm objecting to this vehemently, not only as a business owner that's across the street that will actually see the tower, but also because I don't believe there's a big rising of people saying they're not getting enough Verizon service in your core town. Like, where are all these people that's saying we need more Verizon? We're not getting enough bars on our Verizon service. And then also, why can't they move it out of town a quarter mile? Or why, even they don't know what the material of the clock tower is. How do you expect them to preserve the architectural integrity when they don't even know today what the material is that's making up that tower? So even if they could replicate it and exactly embellish the design, I think it would be a travesty for you guys to allow them to put this cell tower at the front end of your gorgeous town. So I'm objecting, and I know we're all here waiting for 3 hours to object, but I think this is something you should all consider very seriously. Thank you.
Appreciate your input. We'll go on to the next speaker, and I'll just remind everybody we don't necessarily need to repeat the inputs. So if you're able to add to it, that'd be best, and respect everybody's time. So Aaron Chadwick, please.
Hi, everyone. My name's Erin Chadwick.
And I'm a local business owner, Carpinteria resident for many years, and I'm here to urge you guys to reject the proposed Verizon cell tower. Carpinteria is one of the last true beach towns in California, a place where small town charm, natural beauty, and community pride still matter. Yet, another antenna doesn't need to be close to our parks, our walkways, or our ocean views. It doesn't need to be anywhere that people come to enjoy the peace and simplicity that make Carp special, especially the entrance. We're not against technology, we're for thoughtful planning. And more ugly cell antennas are not thoughtful. It's visual pollution, it's permanent, and it's wrong for Carp. And honestly, if we're looking at Carp and we look at our historical buildings, we have a handful. You know, we can count them on our hands. Why would we ever use a historical building to do this? Verizon wants us to, but Carpinterians don't want that. Verizon wants to build a cell tower in our town, but let's be clear, this isn't about service. I have Verizon and my service is absolutely fine. It's crystal clear, in fact, and I rely on my phone for it, so I'm downtown a lot. It's about big profits at the expense of our small town character, our scenic beauty, and our real face-to-face connections. We're not just a dot on a map here. We're families, we're farmers, we're teachers, and children who chose Carpinteria because it's quiet, safe, and untouched. That's what we love about it. So please protect the look, the feel, and the future of our town. Say no to the tower, and say yes to preserving the soul of Carpinteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's hold the applause if we could. Thanks. Whitney Knoll.
Hi, I'm Whitney Knoll. My husband and I own Pacific Health Foods at 944 Linden. I'm here to speak about the structural integrity of the back one-story building Verizon proposes to put equipment on. Let's see. It was originally, in 2018, we had a civil engineer come out while we were submitting a remodel to the city. He quoted, I have something for you guys.
I think you have to give it up to the staff.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
There's an email to Sean Godkin in there that quotes that building was marginally constructed. Back in the day, it was a magazine shack, 2x4s and metal. It was a storage building for Sushi Terry for the longest time before he graciously gave it to us to expand our family-owned business. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. He referenced, at the time the building inspector came in, that building is held up by a metal pole about this big, and I'm guessing a 4x6 beam that runs across the middle of it. Again, 2x4s metal, one pole, 4x6 that runs across the middle of it. At the time, and currently, all that sits in there are shelving and our walk-in fridge and freezer that butts right up to those 2x4s. In that email, you'll read that the civil engineer advised that we could move forward with our remodel because we were not compromising the structural integrity of the building. My husband's and my concern, aside from what has already been said, you asked me not to add to that, is putting that much weight on that building. We've invested $500,000 into this building. The business has been there 30 years, close to 35 actually. And Verizon hasn't come to us, asked our experience with the building, asked for plans. We are concerned that our investment will get damaged. How are you to put a ladder on the side of that building? That in that email you will read, we had to put 1/2-inch plywood over sheet metal. So how can you anchor a ladder of that size and not damage our walk-in on the other side of that wall? Another thing that has recently happened in the last month is Joe Gonzalez Welding is a local company. We have a gate that butts up to the corner of that building. And aside from a lot of dry rot and subterranean termite damage to our whole front of our building, that back building, the corner is rotted. Again, we just discovered this, so Joe Gonzalez came out, re-welded, so our gate would properly shut. The other issue is parking. When we remodeled, the city required us to have 2 parking spots, and in their plan, their ladder sits right in one of our parking spots. And I don't know if that is proposed to take one of our spots, because that was an agreement with you that we moved forward with our permit. And then the clarification that we would like is, one, on the parking. Did Verizon go inside of our attic? I know they didn't. They checked our roof. Did they check all the lumber in our crawl space that is 5 feet tall to see if it has not too been experiencing dry rot or termite damage? They came out to do a load test. Was that an electrical load test? Because we also are too tapped out on electrical at that location. Or was it a structural test? I don't know if that's even possible. Our main concern today, aside from what has been stated, is if you put what you're proposing on that one-story building that is probably from the 20s or 30s, I don't know. It wasn't a permitted building either. If you look on your records, we couldn't find it. And the city graciously allowed us to move forward with our remodel. We have many doubts that you're going to keep our investments safe. Thank you.
And Tyler Wilson.
Hello there. Yeah, my name is Tyler Wilson. Just to echo exactly what everyone else has said, I just want to thank you all for this. I know you spent a lot of time here to do what's best for our community. Thank you. Great questions. Very encouraging to hear the questions you had already asked. Great hearing from people that have recently moved to Carpinteria and love Carpinteria. I actually am very fortunate. I'm born and raised here. My dad, Tyson Wilson, was moved here in the 50s. He's been on many boards, school boards, fire boards. So I love what you guys do to help keep Carpinteria what it is. With that said, I came in here to oppose this project because honestly, it's pretty bad. Just by looking at it. Looking at this proposal, it's even worse. When I came in here and I saw this, I thought, is this supposed to be like a proponent for this proposal? Because it actually, every slide on there could be used as from the opponent. It's just the number of towers, the way it looks. Great questions about the vinyl. I had an office on 21 East Coda in downtown Santa Barbara. You mentioned they'd done this in Santa Barbara. They came in and Verizon said, or whoever the carrier was, maybe it was Verizon, it was going to look great. Looks terrible. Really, it looks terrible. Go take a look at it. 21 East Coda upstairs on the roof, it looks terrible. And to go back to Verizon, I love Verizon. I'm a Verizon customer. I absolutely love it. I shop every day on that corridor. No problems with my bars. So I'm not against Verizon. This is just a very bad location for this project. I think we all kind of know that, right? Been here in Carp. There's a lot of other options. Great questions about Eugenia. And then the response to that, and then the proposal said a couple times, well, this is what Verizon finds best, or this is what Verizon wants. This is what Verizon's studies have said. And all due respect, I mean, who cares what they want, right? This is Carpinteria. They'll get what we can give them under the law, of course, what's fair. But if we have the ability not to just give in anytime, anywhere, then we should take that opportunity to protect Carp, especially this corridor. We all know Carp and Linden is really where it's at. So thank you for your time again. Thank you for all the time you give to the community on your evenings and weekends. And again, I strongly oppose this, and I would imagine most Carpinterians would join in on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's all the speaker slips I have. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? If not, do we have anyone on Zoom?
I do have one hand raised on Zoom. Hi, Gary. Now you can talk.
Hi, this is Gary Campopiano. Thank you guys for all you do. I've been watching for 3 hours too. And I've been a resident for 55 years in Carpinteria. I've spent 35 years as an art educator. I'm a former board member of the Carpinteria Arts Center, former ARB member, and I am a Verizon customer. I won't speak as eloquently as the other Gary that spoke, and I won't speak as long. You're talking about a historic, iconic gateway to our city. It's the entry to our downtown T. you can't put something, you can't destroy that tower. It's an Art Deco design. It has proportions to it that are iconic, and they're there, the proportions are there for a reason. Adding those wings on the side will not work, cannot work. And your board, I know, can comment only on certain things, but the design of this project is totally unacceptable. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Do we have anyone else on Zoom?
No, there's no more public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we'll bring it back to the board for comments and deliberation. You want to start, Board Member Wolf?
Well, I appreciate all the comments we've had, and I have a background where I've reviewed over 40 applications for cell tower locations. And I agree that I just think that Verizon generally goes for the biggest ask first they can, because why not? But the truth is, the only people that benefit from this would be just Verizon and maybe the property owner who is going to collect the rent. I don't think it's appropriate at all, and it's offensive to me that we would ever ruin the one architectural feature this town has in the most important intersection in the town. I wouldn't ever want to mess with it. And we're not, so far you haven't described anything that's helping me believe that you're getting there. And I do know that cell towers can go all over the frickin' place, and I just think that you have done the big ask right now. I hope you find a cell tower location. I'm not saying it's not going to happen someplace in Carp, but I just don't think this spot is going to be, it's going to be your place. So I'm a no. I know that. Sorry.
It's okay. Board Member Little?
I would echo the same concerns that our other board member has. I really think you should look at other locations, especially the Eugenia Place. Be a great location, away from downtown. It's not that far from downtown, so you'll be able to get basically the same coverage there. I'm not a fan of even having a vinyl material next to a stucco surface, because the vinyl is going to degrade over probably a shorter period of time. So I'm not a fan of that as well. And why it has to be right there in the corner, opposed to, even if you moved it back to the center of the building and left the tower by itself, possibly would be helpful. And I'm not quite sure what it would look like from either Cactus or for Linden, but that's something to consider. So that's my comments.
Thank you. Board Member Johnson?
Well, I'm going to disagree with everybody, because I think it's, the proposal's been sensitively designed for this corner location for the pylon. And I think it's well done, as long as it steps back like it shows in the drawing here. It doesn't show in the plan, but it does in the elevation here. And I know that material, and you can't see it. It looks like plaster, and it stays for a long time, so there's no issue there that I know of. And I just have to have verification of that material as the one that we've seen or is used around town all the time. And I think it's well done. And I think the structure of the building will be verified by our building department, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. So I do have some additional comments playing off the questions from earlier. I think this board and the future reviews does deserve more detail on the analysis of the location that was chosen. So I think we need to know more about alternative locations and why they weren't chosen, whether it's an economic choice from the owner, whether it's technical coverage or not. But there's no information really provided other than the dots on the map that tells you what kind of alternatives were considered. So I think these reviews deserve that. I think the reviews also deserve more on the historical significance. If it truly is, to the level of the historical significance that we've found in other buildings in Carp that have dealt with an array, pardon the phrase, a myriad of requirements to maintain that, that should be reflected in this plan. And it's just not there. I mean, it was spoken to as an opinion, but doesn't get into any of the real details. So I think that's a big missing piece. With respect to the review and, our responsibility, there's 3 things that were on the list that we were to respond to that I think are significant, in my opinion. The visual impact, the compatibility with the location, and the maintenance of the tower. Those were 3 of the, I think, 5 things, and I don't see a clear answer that any one of those 3 is addressed really to any satisfaction. I mean, the visual impact, there's arguments about design, proportion and structure and so on, and then the unknown questions about the historical significance that kind of leaves all that as a question mark. The compatibility of the location, there's all sorts of community uprise about, the appropriateness of the location, so that certainly is a question. And then the maintenance of the tower, I think there's a bit of a wag of the finger to the property owner because the condition of that building is not good, and the visual condition of it. Forget, the more technical things that we heard from the tenants in the building. The clock doesn't work, I mean, it's pretty simple. And that eyebrow around the building is unsafe. I mean, I've seen stuff crumble and fall on the sidewalk, when, the widowmakers come down from those trees. So I think there's a lot to be addressed. And so I really struggle with it and from those perspectives. From the findings, we're supposed to come up with findings, and I can point to community development 10 that we're not meeting. So maintaining the integrity of that frontage, I think that's the one pivotal community design element that I think everybody's expressing. So with that, those are my comments, and entertain a motion.
Through the vice chair, if I may, have some input that may be helpful. Verizon has acknowledged that they have a ways to go on this project, and they requested that they be given more time, and they asked if they could get a continuance of the preliminary review so they could redraw their plans or take a look at what they're doing and come back with a revised set for you to look at your next meeting. And so that is an option for you, though?
Yes, that can form a motion, if anyone would like to.
Like to make a motion that we grant them a continuance provided they consider a different location. And with this particular item, I don't have any problem with working with Verizon down the road, but not in that location. And so the motion would be in a continuance. It's granted, available at their convenience or your convenience.
Do you have any additional design recommendations that they could come in with?
In a place that does not violate the integrity of an architectural.
I would offer a slight amendment to your motion,
all right.
just to include not only your direct comment about the location, but the other 2 comments about more detail on the historical significance and the detail about the alternatives, which is really what you're.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the historic significance with my motion at all.
So you don't want to add that?
No, I don't want it to be in that location for any reason.
Yeah.
So.
That's fine.
So the motion is to a continuance to review a different location for the Verizon tower.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second on the board? So we
Why don't you just
do, or we
revise
don't?
the continuance just to restudy the project?
So there's a modification to your motion? Or is it it's a different motion? Okay. So we didn't get a second on.
I
on
would
your
second
motion.
Richard's.
So we have a motion and a second.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
No.
So we've got 3 ayes and 1 no.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, for the,
No.
so,
Thank you all. We've got a couple of housekeeping things on the board yet to go. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for your time
Yeah.
and all your comments. I
Yep.
appreciate that.
And thank you all for sticking it out.
folks, if you make sure that you provide your contact information, and if we, when other notices go out, we'll be sure to get you a notice about it.
Fresno has.
Yeah,
been
we're
hard to
sending
work
it
with.
out.
It's always hard in a community that you're not in and everyone loves. So I'm gonna do what I can. Good luck. All right, thanks, guys.
I think we just got one item to approve the minutes of July the 31st. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes, I did.
Yes, they're fine.
Did you not have one comment that,
Well, page 1, it doesn't list any members present,
yeah, if you could note
but it
that.
also says no members absent.
Okay, very good.
But it shows that none were absent.
That's correct.
So all those,
I make a motion for approval.
Okay.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Yeah, is there any other items from the
Looking at schedules,
staff?
see how, I think that, let me grab my calendar here. So we have one item that might be coming to us. It's a garage door relocation, landscape plan, fencing, moving a gate from a driveway at 4445 La Tierra Lane in the cul-de-sac. They have submitted all the materials. They're in 30-day review by me right now, and I'm hoping to get them to you. I'm gonna shoot for the November.
Is it the October 30 slot?
I don't. They're not gonna make October 30. I thought I had the full calendar here.
So your point is there's no October 30 meeting?
Yeah, I think that we don't have anything right now, and I think that that's going to be canceled. But then in November, we have the Kolb, it's called the Kolb Garage and remodel. They've been remodeling that house. It's quite extensive that they've been doing just under a building permit inside, and it's going to be a whole house remodel by the time they're done.
It's 'cause we haven't seen it.
And then Verizon, they want to come back, but it's difficult to see that they would be ready. They want to be ready to come back next month, and then go to the planning commission tentatively. They wanted to go in December, and we told them that that's probably not likely either, so we'll be keeping you posted on what to expect from them.
Okay.
We got very bare bones materials.
Okay, thank you. No items from the board for staff? Okay, meeting adjourned at 8:42.